Hello everyone and welcome to Subreddit Dreams. I've been scouring the front pages and hidden gems of Reddit to bring you the most fascinating and unbelievable stories on the platform. If you love a great narrative as much as I do, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's get straight into the stories.
Story 1. I grew up in that house. I learned to ride a bike in the driveway, broke my collarbone falling out of the elm tree in the backyard. Kissed my first girlfriend on the porch steps when I was 14. My mother died in the upstairs bedroom holding my hand at 6:47 on a Tuesday morning. And 6 months ago, my sister changed the locks on me while I was pulling wire at a commercial site in Aurora. Let me back up. My name's Craig. I'm 41. I'm an electrician in Denver, been licensed for 16 years. I'm not rich, I'm not poor. I drive a 2019 F-150 that's paid off. I own my mother's house, a 3-bedroom ranch in Wheat Ridge, that she left to me and only me in a will she had notarized at her attorney's office 14 months before she passed. There's no ambiguity. There's no gray area. The deed is in my name. The mortgage was paid off in 2018. I pay the property taxes. I pay the insurance. I replaced the furnace last winter with my own hands and $4,000 of my own money. My sister Danielle is 37. She was always the one who needed saving. Bad boyfriends in high school, credit card debt in her 20s, a marriage to a guy named Todd who seemed okay until he wasn't, and a divorce that left her with 2 kids, no job, and an apartment lease she couldn't cover. So when she called me crying in February saying she had nowhere to go, I did what I thought any brother would do. I said, come stay in the basement. I'd finished it out a few years back, carpet drywall, a bathroom with a shower stall. It wasn't luxury, but it was warm and dry and free. I told her a few weeks, maybe a month, until she got on her feet. She said she just needed a little time. I believed her. The first 2 weeks were fine. Danielle was grateful. She cooked dinner a couple times, kept the basement tidy, the kids were polite. Her son Marcus is 9, her daughter Lily is 6. Good kids. Quiet. I liked having them around, honestly. The house had been too silent since Mom died. Then the little things started. Danielle began rearranging the kitchen. Not just moving a mug, she reorganized the entire pantry, bought new shelf liners, threw out spices she said were expired. She put her name on the mailbox next to mine. I noticed but didn't say anything, because I'm not the kind of guy who fights over shelf liners. Then she enrolled Marcus and Lily in the local elementary school. Used my address. Didn't ask me. I found out when a welcome packet showed up in the mail, addressed to the Harmon family. My last name is Harmon. So is hers. She took it back after the divorce. Seeing it printed like that, like we were one household, made something tighten in my chest. But I told myself it was practical. The kids needed school. It was the middle of the year. Fine. Then I left for a 4-day job in Colorado Springs. Commercial retrofit, good money, long hours. I came home on a Thursday night, stuck my key in the front door, and it didn't turn. I stood there on my own porch in the dark holding a key that no longer worked to a house I owned outright. I called Danielle. She answered on the 4th ring, casual as anything, and said, "Oh, I had the locks changed." There was a sketchy guy walking around the neighborhood. "I'll get you a copy of the new key." She didn't get me a copy that night. Or the next day. I slept in my truck in my own driveway. Let me say that again. I slept in my truck. In the driveway. Of my own house. When I finally got inside on Friday afternoon, she handed me a single key like she was doing me a favor. I noticed more changes. My mother's china cabinet had been moved to the garage. Danielle's furniture stuff from her old apartment that had been in a storage unit was now filling the living room. There were framed photos of her kids on the mantle, where my mother's photos used to be. Mom's pictures were in a cardboard box in the hall closet. I said, "Danielle, what is this?" She sat down at the kitchen table, my kitchen table, and said with absolute calm, "Craig, we need to talk about the house." She told me she'd been thinking about it, and she believed Mom always intended for both of us to have the house. She said the will was something I'd influenced because I was the one who drove Mom to the attorney. She said she'd spoken to a lawyer. She said she'd spoken to our Aunt Rita, our Uncle Frank, our cousins. She said they all agreed with her. I felt the floor tilt. Not because of what she was saying, I knew it was nonsense. The will was airtight. Mom left Danielle her jewelry, her car, and $30,000 from a life insurance policy. She left me the house because I was the one who stayed. I was the one who moved back in when Mom got sick. I was the one who bathed her, changed her sheets, held the bucket when she couldn't make it to the bathroom. Danielle visited twice in 18 months. Twice. But what hit me wasn't the legal argument. It was the realization that she'd been planning this. The school enrollment. The mailbox. The lock change. The furniture. She'd been building a case for residency for some claim of shared ownership, one careful step at a time, while smiling at me over dinner. I told her she needed to leave. I gave her 30 days, which was more than generous. She looked at me and said, "You can't evict me. I live here. I have tenants' rights." She was right about one thing. In Colorado, once someone establishes residency, you can't just throw them out. You have to go through the courts. Even if you own the house. Even if they've never paid a dime of rent. Even if they changed your locks and boxed up your dead mother's photographs. I hired a lawyer. $1,400 as a retainer. He told me the eviction process could take 60 to 90 days, assuming she didn't contest it. And she was going to contest it. Meanwhile, Danielle launched her campaign. She called every family member we had and told them I was trying to throw her and her children onto the street. She said I was selfish. She said Mom would be ashamed. She said I was holding the house over her head to control her. Aunt Rita called me and screamed for 20 minutes. Uncle Frank sent me a text that said, "Your mother didn't raise you to be this kind of man." My cousin Jesse posted on Facebook about how family should take care of family and some people only care about property. Not one of them called to hear my side. Not one. I started recording everything. My lawyer told me to. I documented every conversation, every change she made to the house, every piece of mail she redirected. I found out she'd tried to add herself to the utility accounts. She told the school she was the homeowner. She'd filed a change of address with the post office listing herself as a permanent resident. The court date came in May. Danielle showed up with a legal aid attorney and argued that she had an implied agreement to live in the home, that our mother's verbal wishes superseded the written will, and that removing her would cause irreparable harm to her. Children's education and stability. The judge wasn't having it. He reviewed the will, the deed, the property tax records, the insurance documents. He looked at Danielle's attorney and said, "There is no ambiguity in this ownership." He granted the eviction. Danielle had 21 days to vacate. She cried in the courtroom. Real tears. And for about 10 seconds, I felt like the monster everyone said I was. Then I remembered sleeping in my truck. I remembered my mother's photos in a cardboard box. I remembered the locks. She moved out on day 20. Took everything she'd brought in, plus a few things she hadn't brought in. A set of tools from the garage, a vintage clock that had been my grandmother's. I didn't fight her on it. I just wanted her gone. The family fallout has been permanent. Aunt Rita doesn't speak to me. Uncle Frank sent one more text after the eviction that said, "I hope you're proud of yourself." Jesse blocked me on everything. Danielle moved in with a friend in Lakewood, and from what I hear is telling people I fabricated the will. I changed the locks again. New deadbolts, new knobs, a security camera on the porch. I put my mother's photos back on the mantle. I sat in the living room that first night alone, and I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel relief. I felt the weight of learning something no one teaches you. That the person most capable of taking everything from you isn't a stranger, it's the one you'd never think to lock the door against. I loved my sister. Part of me still does, buried under all of it. But I will never hand someone a key to my life again and trust that they won't use it to lock me out. The house is quiet now. It's mine. It always was. And some nights, that's enough. Most nights it isn't.
Story 2.
I trusted my neighbor for 11 years. 11 years of lending him, tools waving across the drive, watching his kids grow up alongside mine. And the entire time, every single night, he was creeping onto my property at 3 a.m. and draining petrol from my work van. But that's not even the part that broke me. The part that broke me was finding out half the street already knew. Let me take you back. My name's Craig. I'm 43. I live in a cul-de-sac in North Leeds, one of those quiet estates where everyone's got a wheelie bin schedule and a Christmas lights rivalry. I'm a plumber, self-employed. I drive a white transit van that I need every single day to earn a living. It's not glamorous, but it feeds my 2 girls and keeps the mortgage paid. For about 18 months, I'd been noticing my fuel gauge didn't add up. I'd fill the tank Monday morning, and by Wednesday it'd be lower than it should have been. Not dramatically. Just enough to make me think I was going mad. I mentioned it to my wife Laura, and she said I was probably just driving more than I thought. Fair enough. I let it go. Then the fuel prices went through the roof. We're talking 160, 170 quid to fill that van. And suddenly the discrepancy wasn't just annoying, it was costing me real money. So I did what any normal person would do in 2024. I bought a Ring doorbell camera, fitted it on a Saturday afternoon, angled it so it covered the front of the house and the driveway where I parked the van. I wasn't even thinking about theft, honestly. I just wanted to see if the neighborhood cats were the ones knocking over my recycling. Monday morning, I sat down with a coffee before the girls woke up and scrolled through the overnight footage. And there he was. Dave, my next-door neighbor. The bloke I'd had barbecues with. The bloke whose dog I'd watched when he went to Tenerife. At 3:07 a.m., clear as day, under the motion-activated light, crouched beside my van with a length of rubber tubing and a jerry can, siphoning petrol out of my tank like it was the most natural thing in the world. He wasn't even wearing a mask. Wasn't even rushing. He moved with the casual confidence of a man who'd done this hundreds of times. And based on what I found out later, he had. I didn't say anything that day. I watched the footage again. Then I checked Tuesday night. Same thing. 3:11 a.m. Same tubing, same jerry can. Wednesday, 3:04 a.m. Every single night. Like clockwork. I saved 2 weeks of footage. 14 clips. 14 visits. I calculated the amount he was taking, roughly 15 to 20 liters a night. At current prices, that's about 30 quid a go. Over 18 months, we're talking somewhere north of 15,000 pounds. From my van. From my livelihood. While I slept 30 feet away. But I needed to understand the full picture before I said a word. So I kept the camera running, and I started paying closer attention to the street. That's when I noticed something else. Dave had a little shed round the back of his house. Nothing unusual, every house on the estate has one. But I started seeing neighbors popping round to his back gate at odd hours. Terry from number 14, Shaz from number 9, Mark and his lad from the end house. They'd go in empty-handed and come out carrying jerry cans. He was selling it. Dave was siphoning my petrol and running a little black market fuel operation right there on our cul-de-sac, selling my diesel to my own neighbors at a discount. And from the looks of it, business was good. I told Laura everything on a Friday night after the girls were in bed. She went white, then she went red. Then she wanted to call the police immediately. I said no. Not yet. I wanted to look Dave in the eye first. I needed to understand how a man I'd considered a friend could do this to me for nearly 2 years without a flicker of guilt. Saturday morning. Bright and dry. I walked out onto the driveway with my phone in my back pocket recording. Dave was washing his car, a BMW X3 by the way, which I'd always wondered how he afforded on a warehouse supervisor's salary. Now I knew. Dave, I said, just his name. Nothing else. He looked up, smiled. All right, Craig, good weekend. I said I put a camera up. The smile didn't drop immediately. It sort of froze, like his face needed a second to catch up with his brain. Then his eyes went to the Ring doorbell above my front door, and I watched the color drain out of him in real time. I've got 2 weeks of footage, I said. Every night. The tubing, the jerry cans, all of it. I've also got footage of half the street coming around your back gate to buy what you've taken from me. He put the sponge down, didn't say a word for what felt like a full minute. Then, and this is the part that still makes my blood boil, he said, "Come on, Craig, it's only a bit of diesel." Only a bit of diesel. I said, 15,000 pounds, Dave. That's what I've estimated. 18 months of you draining my tank every night. That's not a bit of diesel. That's theft. That's my family's money. He started backpedaling. Said it hadn't been going on that long. Said he'd only done it a few times. I pulled out my phone and played him the footage right there on the driveway. His face at 3 a.m. illuminated perfectly, tubing in his mouth, sucking petrol like a man with no shame. That's when his wife Karen came out. And that's when it got loud. Karen started screaming at me. Not at Dave, at me. Saying I was trying to ruin their family. Saying I was a snitch. Saying everyone on the street does bits and pieces and I should stop being so precious about a splash of fuel. A splash of fuel. 15,000 pounds. My ability to do my job. Then Terry from number 14 appeared. He'd heard the shouting. He walked over, and I'll never forget this, he said to me, "Craig, mate, just leave it. It's not worth the hassle." I looked at him and said, "You've been buying my stolen petrol from him, Terry." He didn't deny it. He just shrugged. Shrugged. Like I was the unreasonable one for being upset that my neighbor had been robbing me blind and half the street had been funding it. Within 20 minutes, there were 8 people on that driveway. Some defending Dave, some just watching. Shaz, from number 9, admitted she'd been buying fuel from him for over a year. Said she thought it was surplus from his work. Mark from the end house said the same. They all had their little stories, their little justifications. But the one that gutted me most was old Bill from number 6. Bill's 72. I cut his grass every other week. I cleared his gutters last autumn for free. He looked at me with genuine sadness and said, "I knew Craig. I saw him a few times from my bedroom window. I should have told you. I'm sorry." That cracked something in me. Not the theft. Not Dave. Not Karen screaming. It was Bill's quiet apology. Because it confirmed what I'd been trying not to believe. That the people I'd lived among, helped, trusted, had watched a man steal from me night after night and decided it wasn't their problem. I called the police that afternoon, showed them everything. Dave was arrested the following Tuesday. He was charged with theft, and 3 of the buyers received visits from officers as well. Karen put the house up for sale within a month. I never got the money back. I probably never will. Dave claimed he'd spent it all, and there's nothing to seize. The CPS are pursuing it, but I'm not holding my breath. The street's different now. Quieter. People don't wave as much. Some of them blame me, if you can believe that. Like I'm the one who fractured the community by having the audacity to notice I was being robbed. Laura says we should move. Maybe she's right. But part of me refuses. I didn't do anything wrong. I went to work, came home, loved my family, and trusted my neighbors. And every single one of them let me down. I still check the ring footage every morning. Old habits, I suppose. But the driveway's always empty now. Funny how that works. You put a camera up and suddenly everyone remembers how to behave.
Story 3.
I spent 9 years paying off that house by myself. 9 years of crawling through attics in July, rewiring panels in basements that smelled like mold, and regret pulling overtime shifts so I could make double payments and shave years off the mortgage. I bought that house when I was 26 with nothing but a journeyman's license and a stubbornness my mother always said would either save me or kill me. Turns out she was half right. My sister Denise called me on a Tuesday in March, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Marcus had left. Moved out while she was at work, took the flat screen, the good pots, even the shower curtain. She was 41 years old, sitting on the floor of an empty apartment with a lease she couldn't afford alone. And I did what any brother would do. I said, "Come, stay with me. I've got the basement." It's finished, got its own bathroom, even a little kitchenette I'd put in when I thought about renting it out. A few weeks, I told her. Until you get on your feet? She said she just needed a minute to breathe. That minute lasted 7 months. The first month was fine. Denise kept to herself mostly. She'd come upstairs to cook dinner sometimes, and honestly, it was nice having someone in the house. I'm not going to pretend I wasn't lonely. I work long days, I come home tired, and the silence in that house had started to feel like something physical. So having Denise around, hearing her laugh at something on her phone, smelling coffee already made, when I came down at 5:30, it felt like family. Then things started to shift. It was small at first. I'd come home and there'd be a pair of men's Timberlands by the back door. Size 13. Denise wears a 7. I asked her about it, casual, no accusation. She said her friend Terrell had stopped by to help her move some boxes around. Fine. Then the Timberlands were there again. And again. Then I found a razor in the basement bathroom that wasn't mine, and a stick of men's deodorant in the medicine cabinet, Old Spice Fiji. I don't use Old Spice. I went downstairs one Saturday morning to grab my toolbox from the storage closet, and there was Terrell shirtless eating cereal on my couch, watching my cable like he'd been living there his whole life. He didn't even look up. Just said, "What's good, bro?" I pulled Denise aside that afternoon. I kept my voice level. I said, "Niece, you can't move someone into my house without telling me. That's basic respect." She got defensive immediately. Said Terrell was just staying over sometimes. Said I was being controlling. Said I was acting like their father, which if you knew our father was the worst thing she could have said to me. I let it go. I shouldn't have, but I let it go. 2 weeks later, I came home from a job site in Dearborn and my key didn't work in the back door. I stood there for a full minute, turning that key, thinking something was jammed. Then I walked around to the front. Same thing. New lock. New deadbolt. Brass, not the nickel finish I'd installed myself. I had to ring my own doorbell. Denise opened the door like nothing was wrong. Said the old lock was sticking and Terrell had replaced it for safety. Handed me a new key like she was doing me a favor. I took that key and something in my chest went cold. But I didn't explode. I just said, "Don't ever change the locks on my house again." She rolled her eyes. Rolled her eyes. In my house that I paid for with my hands? Then came the phone call from my mother. Mama called me on a Sunday, and her voice had that tone, that quiet, careful tone she uses when she thinks she's talking to someone fragile. She asked how I was doing. Was I sleeping okay? Was I eating? Had I thought about talking to someone? I said, "Ma, what are you talking about?" She said Denise had told her I'd been acting erratic, that I was drinking, that I'd been aggressive toward Terrell, that she was scared to be in the house with me. I have never put my hands on anyone. I have never had a drinking problem. I go to work, I come home, I watch the Lions lose, and I go to bed. That is my life. And my own sister was sitting in my basement telling my 73-year-old mother that I was dangerous. I drove to my mother's house that night. I sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework as a kid, and I looked her in the eye and told her the truth. Every bit of it. The boyfriend, the locks, the lies. Mama listened. And then she said something that broke me. She said, "Denise is going through a hard time. Maybe you should be more patient." More patient. I'd given up my privacy, my peace, my basement, and my good nature for 7 months, and I needed to be more patient. I went home that night and sat in my truck in the driveway for an hour. I looked at that house, the house I'd re-roofed myself, the house where I'd torn out every piece of carpet and laid hardwood on my hands and knees, the house I'd wired and plumbed and painted and bled into, and I made a decision. The next morning I went to the courthouse. I filed a formal eviction notice. 30 days. Everything legal, everything by the book. I had a process server delivered to the basement door while I was at work, because I knew if I handed it to her myself, she'd twist it into something it wasn't. That's when the war started. Denise called everyone. And I mean everyone. My mother. My Aunt Patricia. My cousin Dwayne. My uncle, who I haven't spoken to in 3 years. She called people from church. She posted on Facebook, didn't name me directly, but wrote a long weeping paragraph about how the people you sacrifice everything for will throw you out on the street like garbage. She got 47 comments. Hearts and prayer, hands, and people calling me every name you can think of without ever hearing my side. My cousin Dwayne showed up at my door. Said I was wrong for putting family out. Said blood is thicker than water. I told him, blood doesn't change your locks and lie to your mother. He said I was being petty. My Aunt Patricia left me a voicemail so vicious I saved it, just in case I ever need to remind myself what conditional love sounds like. And my mother stopped answering my calls. For 2 weeks. The woman who raised me, who I drive to every doctor's appointment, who I check on 3 times a week, she just went silent. Because Denise had gotten to her first. Because the story was already written before I ever got a chance to speak. The 30 days passed. Denise didn't leave. I had to get the sheriff involved. A deputy came to my house on a Thursday morning, and I stood in my own living room and watched my sister carry her things out in garbage bags while Terrell loaded them into a truck he'd borrowed from someone. She didn't look at me. Not once. But as she walked out the front door, she stopped and said loud enough for the deputy and the neighbors to hear, "I hope you're happy. You just lost your family." And here's the thing. She was right. At least partly. My mother didn't speak to me for 2 months. When she finally did, it was stiff and careful, like she was talking to a stranger. My aunt still hasn't come around. Half my family looks at me like I committed a crime. Denise moved in with Terrell's mother across town and has apparently told everyone she's the victim of a cruel, unstable man who kicked his own sister to the curb. But I changed those locks back. I installed the ones I wanted, nickel finish, same as before. I sat in my living room that first quiet night, and I won't lie to you, I cried. Not because I regretted it, because I mourned it. I mourned the version of my family that I thought I had. The version where doing the right thing for someone means they won't burn your house down from the inside. I still drive my mother to her appointments. I still call 3 times a week, even when she's short with me. I still love my sister, somewhere underneath all the scar tissue. But that house is mine. I earned it with my body and my time and my years. And I will never again apologize for protecting the one thing in this world that I built with my own 2 hands. Not for blood. Not for anyone.
Story 4.
I haven't slept more than 2 consecutive hours since my son was born. 8 months of fragmented consciousness, of stumbling through a house that smells like sour milk and lavender detergent, of loving someone so completely that it physically hurts your chest. I need you to understand that first. Because when I tell you what I found on that camera, you're going to ask me why it took 11 days to check the footage. And the answer is simple. I was so tired, I was hallucinating. I was so grateful for help that I refused to question it. And I trusted the wrong people with the only thing in this world that matters to me. My son's name is Oliver. Ollie. And for 11 days, a woman I invited into my home tried to teach him that I didn't love him. Let me back up. My sister Renata is 4 years older than me. She's the kind of person people describe as put together. She never had kids, said she didn't want them, but she was the first person at the hospital when Ollie was born. She held him before my husband did. She cried. I remember thinking it was the closest I'd ever felt to her. By month 6, I was drowning. My husband Marcus travels for work 3, sometimes 4 days a week. I was alone in our house in Eagan, a suburb south of Minneapolis, trying to keep a baby alive while my brain was slowly liquefying from sleep deprivation. I mentioned to Renata that I was thinking about hiring help. She lit up. Said she knew someone perfect. Tessa Langford. 34. Soft voice, warm hands, the kind of woman who makes eye contact when she talks to you and actually listens. She attended Renata's church. She'd worked with infants before, had references, a clean background check, the whole thing. She moved into our guest room on a Tuesday in October. For the first 3 weeks, I thought God had answered a prayer. I didn't even know I'd been praying. Ollie took to Tessa immediately. She was calm when I was frantic, patient when I was short. She did night feeding so I could sleep. She folded laundry without being asked. Marcus said she was a godsend. But then something shifted. It was subtle at first. Ollie started fussing when I picked him up. Not every time, but enough that I noticed. He'd arch his back, twist his face away. When Tessa held him, he'd settle instantly. She'd give me this sympathetic look, like she felt sorry for me, and say things like, "Some babies just go through phases," or "He might be sensing your stress." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? I was stressed. I was a mess. I thought my own baby was rejecting me because I wasn't good enough. That specific thought almost broke me. I called Renata sobbing one night, and she said, "Maybe you need to step back a little. Let Tessa handle more. You're overwhelming him." My own sister told me to step back from my son. I almost did. But something stopped me. A feeling. Not evidence, not logic, just this low animal hum in my gut that said something is wrong. So I ordered a nanny camera online. A small one disguised as a USB charger. I plugged it into the outlet next to the changing table in Ollie's nursery. I synced it to an app on my phone. And then, I didn't watch it. For 11 days, I didn't watch a single second. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was the problem. Every time I reached for my phone to check the feed, I'd hear Renata's voice. "You're overwhelming him." And I'd put the phone down. On day 12, Marcus was home. He was holding Ollie on the couch, and Ollie was laughing, this full, open-mouthed baby laugh, and then I walked over and reached for him, and he screamed. Not fussed. Screamed. Like I was a stranger. Like I was something to be afraid of. Marcus looked at me with this expression I will never forget. It wasn't accusatory. It was worse. It was pity. That night, after everyone was asleep, I opened the app. The footage was organized by date broken into motion-activated clips. I started with the most recent day and worked backward. The first few clips were normal, Tessa changing diapers, rocking Ollie, singing softly. I almost closed the app. Almost. Then I hit a clip from 2 in the morning. Tessa was sitting in the glider with Ollie, giving him a bottle. The room was dark except for the nightlight. She was leaning close to his ear, and at first I thought she was humming. I turned the volume all the way up, pressed the phone against my ear. "She doesn't love you, sweetheart." "She doesn't. She's too tired to love you." "But I'm here. I'm always here. I love you. I'm your person." My hand started shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I kept watching. Clip after clip. Night after night. It was methodical. It was deliberate. During every single feeding, every one, Tessa whispered to my son that I didn't love him. She used the same phrases, the same cadence like a script she'd rehearsed. She would take the blanket I'd slept with, the one I kept in his crib so he could smell me, and she'd pull it away from his face when he reached for it. She'd tuck it under the mattress where he couldn't get to it, then replace it with one of her own shirts. She was conditioning him. Rewiring his attachment at 8 months old, when the brain is building its most fundamental understanding of safety and love. She was teaching my baby that comfort came from her, and fear came from me. I watched 7 hours of footage that night. I sat on the bathroom floor with the door locked and the fan running so no one could hear me, and I watched a woman I trusted systematically try to steal my son's love. I bit a towel to keep from screaming. Then I got to night 4. Night 4. The clip was timestamped 1:47 a.m. Tessa had just finished a feeding. She was rocking Ollie doing her whisper routine when her phone buzzed. She picked it up and put it on speaker. It was Renata. "How's it going?" my sister asked. Casual. Like she was asking about a project at work. "Good," Tessa said. "He cried for her today, but I redirected. Another week and he won't reach for her at all." There was a pause. Then Renata said, "Good. She doesn't deserve him. She never did." I heard my sister say that. On camera. At 1:47 inches in the morning, while my son was cradled in the arms of a woman she had planted in my home. They talked for 6 more minutes. Renata asked detailed questions. Was Ollie still responding to my voice? Was he sleeping through my attempts to soothe him? Had I cried that day? Tessa answered all of them. They discussed timelines. Renata said, "When she finally gives up, I'll suggest she let me take him for a while. A break. And then we just don't give him back right away." My sister was trying to take my son. Not legally. Not through courts. Through erosion. Through making me believe I was a failure, that my baby didn't want me, that I was too broken to mother him. She wanted me to hand him over willingly, convinced it was for the best. And Tessa was the tool she used to do it. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't confront anyone. I sat on that bathroom floor until the sun came up, and then I did something I'm not proud of. I walked into the kitchen, poured Tessa a cup of coffee, smiled, and said thank you for everything. Because I needed time. I needed to be strategic. I needed to not be the hysterical, sleep-deprived mother they'd already painted me as. I called a lawyer that morning. I called my pediatrician. I called a child psychologist who specializes in infant attachment. I saved every second of footage to 3 separate hard drives and uploaded it to the cloud. Then I called Marcus. He was in Detroit. He was on a plane home within 2 hours. That evening, Marcus and I sat Tessa down at the kitchen table. I placed my phone in front of her and pressed play. I watched the color drain from her face, like someone had pulled a plug. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. She said almost in a whisper, "Renata said you were hurting him." Renata said a lot of things, I told her. Tessa was out of our house within the hour. I changed the locks that night. Renata I handled differently. I didn't call her. I didn't scream. I sent her the footage, all of it, with a single text message. "Don't contact me. Don't contact my son. If you come near my family, my lawyer will be in touch." She called 17 times that night. I didn't answer. She sent a long email the next day, full of justifications. She said I was unfit. She said she was protecting Ollie. She said she'd always wanted to be a mother, and watching me waste the opportunity was killing her. I read it once, then forwarded it to my lawyer. It's been 4 months. Ollie is in twice-weekly sessions with the attachment specialist. He reaches for me now. Not every time, but more and more. Last week, he fell asleep on my chest for the first time since October, his fist curled around the collar of my shirt, and I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Renata has been removed from every part of my life. My parents know. They've seen the footage. My mother hasn't spoken to Renata since. My father tried to mediate once, and I told him if he brought it up again, he'd lose access to his grandson too. He hasn't brought it up again. People ask me if I'll ever forgive her. I don't think about forgiveness. I think about a dark room at 1:47 inches the morning and a woman whispering lies into my baby's ear and my sister on the other end of the phone asking if I'd cried that day. She wanted to know if it was working. It almost did.
Story 5. The first time Brenda tried to steal my life, I was 12. It was Christmas Eve 7 years after she'd married my dad, and the air in our house was thick with the scent of pine needles and her cloying gardenia perfume. My sister Chloe, who was 10, was meticulously arranging her new doll collection under the tree. Dad was stuck on a late shift at the hospital. Brenda appeared in the doorway, zipped into a ridiculously festive red coat. Kid surprise. Get your coats. We're going on a trip. I looked up from my video game. A trip Dad's not even home. He'll meet us there, she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. We're driving to my sister's in Ohio. It'll be a real family Christmas. Ohio was an 8-hour drive. On Christmas Eve. Without telling our dad, I knew even at 12 that this was wrong. This was an abduction dressed up in holiday cheer. No, I said. We're staying here. For Dad. Her smile vanished. Don't be difficult, Dylan. I've already packed your bags. They're in the car. Chloe looked at me, her eyes wide. I don't want to go. That was all it took. Brenda's face hardened. She strode over, grabbed Chloe's arm, and started pulling her toward the door. We are not discussing this. Chloe cried out. Something inside me snapped. I launched myself between them, planting my feet. Let go of her. Get out of my way, she hissed, her fingers digging into my sister's coat. For a second, I saw the raw, desperate narcissism underneath the suburban mom costume. This wasn't about a family Christmas. This was about her picture-perfect fantasy, and we were just props she was trying to drag onto her stage. I didn't move. The standoff lasted until the sound of Dad's car pulling into the driveway broke the spell. She dropped Chloe's arm like it was hot, her face instantly rearranging into a mask of maternal warmth. She never got her Ohio Christmas, and I never forgot the look in her eyes. 15 years later, not much had changed. My fiancée, Sarah, and I were sitting at that same dining table for Brenda and my dad's anniversary dinner. My stepbrother Kyle, Brenda's biological son, and the undisputed center of her universe, was there with his new fiancée, Tiffany. The entire dinner was a masterclass in Brenda's brand of manipulation. Every story circled back to Kyle's brilliance, his recent promotion, Tiffany's impeccable taste. Sarah and I were just background scenery. Finally, during a lull, I squeezed Sarah's hand under the table, stood up, and cleared my throat. Actually, Sarah and I have some news of our own, I said. My dad beamed. Kyle offered a genuine smile. Brenda just looked impatient, like I was interrupting the main event. We're pregnant, I said, looking at Sarah, who was absolutely glowing. My dad jumped up to hug us both. That's incredible, I'm going to be a grandpa. Brenda's reaction was quieter. She manufactured a tight, brief smile. Oh. Well, that's nice. She took a delicate sip of her wine, then immediately turned to Tiffany, her voice booming with renewed enthusiasm. Speaking of babies, Tiffany, have you seen the new line of strollers from Silver Cross? When you and Kyle have my grandbaby, we are sparing no expense. It's going to be the most beautiful child this family has ever seen. The message was clear. Our baby wasn't her grandbaby. It was a budget knockoff. The real heir would come from the golden child. I felt the old anger rise in my throat, but Sarah just gave my hand another squeeze. We knew who we were dealing with. For the next 2 months, that's how it was. We'd share an ultrasound picture. Brenda would counter with a story about Kyle and Tiffany's venue scouting for their wedding. We'd mention we were thinking of names. She'd launch into a monologue about the custom invitations for their engagement party. Our baby was a non-event. We were almost relieved. The vacuum of her attention was a safe place to be. Then the phone call came. It was my dad. His voice was tired. It's over, he said. Kyle and Tiffany called off the wedding. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. The golden child had failed. The stage was empty. And a narcissist abhors a vacuum. My phone rang less than an hour later. It was Brenda. Dylan, she said, skipping any greeting. Her voice was sharp, crackling with a terrifying new energy. We need to plan the baby shower. I've cleared my calendar. She showed up the next day uninvited, clutching a 3-ring binder with a gold embossed label, Project Grandchild. Sarah and I exchanged a look of pure dread. Brenda spread her documents across our coffee table, like a general planning a military invasion. I've booked the country club's ballroom, she announced. And I've found the most divine theme. She flipped open the binder to a mood board that looked like a Barbie doll had thrown up all over a Disney princess. It was an assault of fuchsia, rose gold, and glitter. I'm calling it Princess Peony's first ball, she said, beaming. We'll have a string quartet, a 4-tiered cake, and I found a company that makes custom thrones. Your daughter will be celebrated in the style she deserves. Sarah stared at the plans, her mouth slightly agape. Our daughter, she said softly. Brenda, we don't know the gender yet. We're not finding out. Brenda waved a dismissive hand. Oh, please. It'll be a girl. I need a granddaughter. Besides, these colors won't work for a boy. I couldn't take it anymore. Brenda, no. We're not doing this. This is a lot, Sarah added, trying to be diplomatic. We were just going to have a casual co-ed party. At that little pizza place down the street. Wings Beer Pizza. Simple. Brenda looked at us as if we'd suggested holding the shower in a dumpster. Her face contorted with disgust. Pizza. You want to welcome my Time's grandchild into the world with pizza. That is the tackiest thing I have ever heard. You are embarrassing this family before the child is even born. It's our child, our party, and our decision. I said, my voice flat and cold. We're having a pizza party. You can come or not, but the Pink Palace isn't happening. The silence was heavier than a gravestone. She slowly packed her binder, her movement stiff with rage. She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the knob, and gave me that same look I remembered from when I was 12, a look that said I was nothing more than an obstacle to her fantasy. You'll regret this, she whispered, and left, slamming the door behind her. The week leading up to the shower was eerily quiet. Too quiet. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, but there were no angry texts, no dramatic voicemails. She RSVP'd yes, and that was it. I let myself believe for a foolish moment that she had actually listened. Then, 3 days before the party, my sister Chloe called. Her voice was a low conspiratorial hiss. Dylan, you need to sit down. What is it? I have a friend who works at Elegant Events, that big party rental place downtown. She just told me something. Brenda was in there yesterday. The cold knot in my stomach was back. And she placed a massive order. For this Saturday morning. Delivery to Larocco's Pizza at 9 a.m. Our party didn't start until noon. What was the order, Chloe? I asked, already knowing the answer. 200 yards of pink and gold tulle, she said, her voice grim. 3 dozen floral centerpieces with peonies. A 6-foot-tall balloon arch. And Dylan. She rented a gold throne. The throne was the detail that broke me. Not the pink fabric or the avalanche of flowers. It was the image of my unborn child, a helpless prop being placed on a gaudy golden throne for Brenda's Instagram feed. Okay. I said into the phone, my voice low and dangerously calm. We're going to war. A conference call was convened. Me, Sarah, Chloe, and Sarah's best friend Maya, who had the organizational skills of a 4-star general. We named our mission Operation Pepperoni Over Peonies. The plan was audacious, bordering on insane, and absolutely necessary. Phase 1 was Chloe's job. She was the inside agent. She won't suspect a thing from me, Chloe said, a grim satisfaction in her voice. I've spent 25 years mastering the art of placating her. Let me work. 2 hours later, Chloe called me back. The bait is laid, she whispered. I told her I was so moved by her generosity that I booked us a surprise mother-daughter spa morning before the shower. A thank you for all her hard work. Manicures, blowouts, the works. At a salon clear across town. She ate it up with a spoon. What time's the appointment? I asked. 10:30 sharp. She'll be out of commission until at least 11:45. That gave us our window. A small one, but a window nonetheless. My job was to handle the venue. I called Tony LaRocco, the owner of the pizza place, a gruff old guy who'd known my dad for years. I explained the situation as delicately as I could. "So let me get this straight," Tony said, a smile in his voice. "Your stepmom is trying to turn my place into some kinda princess castle against your will." "That's the short version, yeah." A deep rumbling laugh came through the phone. "My wife would kill me if I let that happen. The back door will be unlocked for you at 10. Do what you gotta do, kid. This is gonna be better than Sunday football." Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Maya, Sarah, and I pulled up to the back of LaRocco's. The moment I pushed the door open, the smell hit me. Not garlic and oregano, but the sickeningly sweet scent of 1,000 peonies and Brenda's gardenia perfume. The place was unrecognizable. It was a Barbie hellscape. Pink tulle was draped from the checkered tablecloths. Gold spray-painted branches sat in vases on every table. The balloon arch blocked the entrance to the men's room. And there against the wall with the vintage photos of the Italian national soccer team sat the throne. It was gold-covered in red velvet and looked like it had been stolen from a low-budget medieval fair. "Oh my God." Sarah breathed, her hand on her belly. "She actually did it." "Not for long," Maya said, snapping on a pair of rubber gloves and pulling out a box cutter. "Let's move." For the next hour and a half, we worked like a pit crew. We didn't just dismantle. We erased. Tulle was ripped down and shoved into trash bags. The floral arrangements were boxed up and stacked by the back door. Maya, a demon of efficiency, directed traffic, pointing and commanding. "Dylan, get the throne." "Sarah, you're on balloon duty. Pop every last one of them." The popping of balloons was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. We loaded every last scrap of Brenda's party into the back of my pickup truck. Then we put up our own decorations, simple strings of white lights, a single chalkboard sign that read "Welcome Baby Miller," and a stack of board games on each table. We transformed it back into a pizza parlor in under 90 minutes. By 11:50 a.m., we were done sweating and laughing. The first guests were due in 10 minutes. Chloe texted me, "Times AITA, 2 minutes. She looks like a real housewife. Get ready." Asterisk. We took our positions. I stood by the door with Sarah. The guests started to arrive, greeting us with hugs and gifts, oblivious to the covert operation that had just concluded. Then the door opened. Brenda swept in, Chloe trailing behind her, looking apologetic. Brenda's hair was shellacked into a perfect blonde helmet. Her nails were a glossy, aggressive pink. She took one step inside, her face alight with triumph, ready to accept praise for the masterpiece she had created. And then she saw it. The checkered tablecloths, the beer taps, the chalkboard sign, the complete and total absence of a single peony. Her smile didn't just vanish. It curdled. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for any remnant of her vision, any shred of her control. She saw the stacks of pizza boxes, the pitchers of soda, my dad laughing with Sarah's uncle. She saw a party that had absolutely nothing to do with her. She locked eyes with me from across the room. I didn't flinch. I just gave her a small, tight smile and a little nod, the same way she had to me all those years ago. Asterisk. I win. Asterisk. The mask didn't just slip. It shattered. For a split second, I saw the same raw, desperate narcissism I'd seen when I was 12. This was her Ohio Christmas all over again. She couldn't make a scene. There were too many people, Too many witnesses. Control was everything, and the one thing worse than losing control was looking times like you'd lost control. So she did the only thing she could. She retreated. She found a small table in the corner, as far away from the main group as possible, and sat there stiff and silent for the entire party. She didn't speak to Sarah. She didn't touch a gift. She didn't once acknowledge the baby she had supposedly been so excited to welcome. When people came over to say hello, she offered one-word answers, her gaze fixed on a spot on the wall. The grand architect of Project Grandchild looked at my glowing pregnant fiancée with the same disinterest she'd show a piece of furniture. It was the most honest she had ever been. Her interest had vanished the second her stage was struck. It was never about the baby. It was only ever about her. The golden child had failed, the replacement prop had refused to cooperate, and now there was nothing left for her to use. So she sulked. She left without saying goodbye. Later that evening, sitting in our nursery-to-be, amid a mountain of gifts, Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. "We did it," she said softly. "Yeah," I said, looking around the quiet room. "We did." I thought about that night on Christmas Eve, standing between Brenda and my sister, a small boy trying to protect his family, and I thought about today, standing in that pizza parlor, a grown man doing the exact same thing. Some things never change, but some things have to. "I'm done, Sarah." I said the words feeling heavier and lighter than any I'd ever spoken. No more holidays. No more phone calls. She's not getting a chance with this baby. She tried to steal my childhood. She's not getting her hands on our kids. Sarah squeezed my hand. "I know," she said. "It's the right thing to do." The cycle was broken. The door was closed. Outside, the world was quiet. And for the first time in a long time, my life felt completely and finally my own. Story 6. My whole life has been a story told in pieces, with the most important chapter ripped out. For 16 years, the story I was told was simple. I was Sophia Marie Reynolds, daughter of Mark and Carol Reynolds. A wanted child. A loved child. The end. Then came the Thanksgiving from hell. Aunt Linda, drunk on cheap Chardonnay and decades of resentment, decided to drop the bomb. "Well, for an adopted kid, you sure look a lot like Carol." Silence. The clinking of forks stopped. My dad's face went white. My mom's lips thinned into a razor-sharp line. In my world, the simple, complete story I thought was mine shattered. The fight that followed was biblical. It didn't just break our family. It atomized it. I packed a bag that night and didn't speak to my parents for 5 years. Therapy, mountains of it, eventually stitched us back together. But the scars remained a constant thrumming reminder of the lie. We were okay. We were fine. We loved each other. But the trust was a kintsugi bowl, beautiful in its own way, but forever traced with lines of gold where the pieces had been broken. Finding Sarah, my birth mother, was like finding a missing limb. I didn't even know I was searching until I held her letter in my hands. We met for coffee, a meeting that stretched into a 6-hour conversation. There were no villains in her story. Just two terrified, heartbroken teenagers, a small town with judging eyes, and a system that forced their hands. They'd wanted to keep me, she explained, her own eyes shimmering with a grief that 30 years hadn't managed to dull. "We had a name picked out for you," she told me during one of our weekly video calls, her face framed by the sunny yellow walls of her kitchen. "Your dad, your birth father, Michael, he loved the beach. We met there. He proposed there. We just knew our baby had to have a piece of that. What was it? I asked, leaning into my laptop screen. A soft, wistful smile touched her lips. Summer. You were born on June 21st, the first day of summer. It was perfect. Summer. The name echoed in a hollow part of my chest I never knew existed. It wasn't just a name. It was a ghost of a life, a story that was mine, but that I'd never gotten to live. Sophia Marie Reynolds. Marie was my adoptive mom's confirmation name. It was nice. It was fine. It meant nothing to me. But summer felt like coming home. A few weeks later, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment with my fiancé Liam, surrounded by a tsunami of wedding magazines and venue brochures. Okay, so we have the caterer locked in, Liam said, ticking an item off a spreadsheet on his iPad. Now we need to think about the legal stuff. The marriage license, name change paperwork. He looked up at me. Sophia Marie Thompson. Has a nice ring to it. I stared at the sample form he was holding. Asterisk first name. Middle name, last name, asterisk. Sophia. Marie. Reynolds. Soon to be Thompson. The name Marie felt like a stranger's coat I'd been forced to wear. It was a connection to a woman who for 16 years had edited the most fundamental part of my identity out of my life story. I loved her, I did. We'd worked hard to get back to a good place. But her love had come with an asterisk, a condition of silence. Sarah's love was a revelation. It was a simple, uncomplicated truth. She was the beginning of my story. I'm going to change it. I said the words leaving my mouth before I'd fully formed the thought. Liam looked up confused. Change what? The caterer. Please don't say the caterer. I already dreamed about their mini tacos. No, I laughed, shaking my head. My middle name. To what? I took a deep breath, the name feeling sacred on my tongue. Summer. Liam's face softened. He knew everything. The Thanksgiving, the 5 years of silence, the painful rebuilding. He'd been the one to hold me as I cried after my first meeting with Sarah. He reached across the pile of magazines and took my hand. Sophia Summer Thompson, he said, testing it out. He squeezed my hand. I love it. It's you. It was me. It was the girl born on the summer solstice to 2 kids who loved each other on a beach. It was a way to stitch that first ripped out chapter back into my own book. It wasn't about replacing anyone. It was about completing times myself. The first person I had to tell was Sarah. I called her that night, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. I have something to tell you, I started, my voice trembling slightly. It's about the wedding. When I change my last name to Liam's, I'm also changing my middle name. Oh, she said, her voice warm and curious. I'm changing it to Summer. Silence. For a terrifying second, I thought I'd overstepped, that I'd misunderstood. Then a small choked sound came through the phone. A sob. Are you okay? I asked, panicking. Oh, honey, she whispered, her voice thick with tears. I'm more than okay. I never thought. After all these years, I never thought that name would ever be used. It feels like I'm getting a piece of you back. We cried together, a messy, happy flood of tears that washed away 30 years of what-ifs. Her joy was a balm, a confirmation. This was right. This was my name. This was my story. A week later, I was sitting in my car outside my parents' house. The official name change petition filled out in neat black ink was in my purse. Asterisk Sophia Summer Reynolds. Asterisk it looked so right. I felt a flutter of nerves, but it was overshadowed by the warmth of Sarah's reaction. My parents would understand. They had to. After all the therapy, after all the talks about honesty and acceptance, this was the culmination of that. This was me finally whole. I took a breath and walked up the familiar brick path. My mom, Carol, opened the door before I could knock a wide smile on her face. Sophia, come in, your father's just opening a bottle of wine. We're so excited to hear your news. We sat in the living room, the same room, where my world had fallen apart all those years ago. It was cozier now, filled with pictures of Liam and me of holidays spent rebuilding bridges. My dad, Mark, handed me a glass of Merlot. So he said, settling into his armchair, his eyes twinkling, "What's this exciting wedding update?" I smiled, feeling the warmth of the wine and their love. This would be fine. They would be happy for me. Well, you know, Liam and I have been getting all the legal paperwork sorted out. I began, my voice steady and sure. And since I'm already changing my last name, I've decided to make another change. I looked from my mom's expectant face to my dad's. I'm changing my middle name. My mom's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Oh. To what, honey? Here it was. The moment of integration, the final beautiful weaving of all the parts of myself into one. To Summer. I beamed at them, waiting for them to share in my joy. It's the name my birth mother, Sarah, was going to give me. I was born on the first day of summer. It feels right. It feels like me. The air in the room went still. My dad put his wine glass down on the coaster with a heavy, deliberate thud. My mom's face, which had been so open and happy moments before, was now a frozen mask. The smile was gone, replaced by something I hadn't seen in years. Something tight and cold and sharp. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was dangerously quiet. "You're replacing Marie." It wasn't a question. It was an indictment. "I'm not replacing it." I said, my voice smaller than I wanted. "I'm choosing something that has meaning for me. Marie has no meaning for me." "Mom, you know that." "No meaning." Her voice cracked a fissure in her icy composure. "I gave it to you. Mark and I chose it for you. We named you. Doesn't times mean anything?" My dad leaned forward, his protective instincts kicking in. Carol calmed down. He turned to me, his expression hardening. "Sophia, this is a slap in the face. After everything we've been through, all the therapy, for you to do this, it feels like you're intentionally trying to hurt your mother. Hurt her. This isn't about hurting anyone." My own anger began to bubble up, hot and familiar. "This is about me, asterisk. It's about my identity. An identity you hid from me for 16 years. "Oh, here we go," Carol snapped, throwing her hands up. "We knew you'd throw that in our faces. We did that to protect you. You did it to build a perfect little family on top of a lie." I was on my feet. Now the wine forgotten on the coffee table. "You wanted a closed adoption specifically to erase Sarah and Michael from my life. You erased my entire history. But now that I'm trying to honor that history, a history you denied me, I'm the one who's erasing you. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. You should have just added it," my dad said, his voice low and tight. "Sophia Marie Summer. We could have lived with that. But to cut Marie out completely, that's a choice, Sophia. A deliberate one. Yes, it is, I said, my voice shaking with a fury I hadn't felt in years. It's my choice. I am not a collection of names to appease everyone's feelings. I'm not a diplomatic treaty. Marie is times your times story. Summer is times mine asterisk. It's the first chapter. The one you ripped out. Carol started to cry. Silent, angry tears that tracked down her cheeks. I don't even know who you are anymore. That's the point, I whispered, the fight draining out of me, replaced by a deep, hollow ache. I'm just starting to figure that out for myself. I grabbed my purse from the entryway and walked out, not looking back. The slam of the front door felt like a final punctuating crack in our fragile Kintsugi Bowl family. I drove to Liam's, my hands trembling so hard I had to grip the steering wheel with white-knuckled force. I called him, my voice a ragged mess. It was a disaster, I choked out. They hate it. They think I'm erasing them. Pull over, Liam said, his voice firm but gentle. Right now, just pull over. I did, slumping against the driver's side window in a deserted parking lot. Okay, he said. Breathe. Are you listening? You are not erasing them. They are making your journey about their insecurity. That is not your burden to carry. Not anymore. His words were a lifeline. When I got to our apartment, he was waiting by the door. He didn't say anything, just wrapped me in his arms and let me sob into his shirt. Later, we were curled up on the couch. The unsigned name change petition sitting on the coffee table like an unexploded bomb. Maybe your dad's right, I mumbled into a throw pillow. Maybe I should just add it. It's not worth blowing up my family again. Liam was quiet for a moment. He picked up the form, his eyes scanning the neat black ink. What did Sarah say when you told her? She cried. I said, my own eyes welling up again at the memory. She said she felt like she was getting a piece of me back. And what did you feel when you wrote Summer on that line? I thought about it. The thrill. The sense of clicking into place. Like I was coming home. He put the form back down. So you can either make a choice that brings you and your birth mother profound joy and healing, a choice that feels like coming home to yourself, or you can add a name to appease two people who lied to you for 16 years because they're terrified of the truth you represent. He looked me straight in the eye. There is no version of this where they are happy soft. Adding the name is still a reminder. The only question is whether you compromise on your own story to make them 2% less unhappy. He was right. Any change would have been a problem. This wasn't about the name. It was about control. They had lost control of my narrative the day Aunt Linda opened her mouth, and they'd been scrambling to get it back ever since. Their love was still conditional. The condition was that I had to be their daughter first and foremost, with all other parts of my identity relegated to a quiet, polite footnote. I would not be a footnote in my own life. The next morning, I woke up with a quiet, steely resolve. I didn't call my parents. I didn't text them. I made a cup of coffee, sat down at our kitchen table, and picked up the pen. I went over the form one last time. Asterisk current name, Sophia Marie Reynolds. Asterisk. Asterisk proposed name, Sophia Summer Thompson. Asterisk. It was perfect. It was whole. It was the truth. I drove to the county courthouse, a sterile beige building that smelled of old paper and weak coffee. I took a number and waited, watching the slow, mundane ballet of public service. It felt anticlimactic. This huge life-altering decision reduced to a number on a screen and a bored-looking clerk. Number 87. A voice droned over the intercom. My number. I walked to the counter and handed the woman my petition. She scanned it, her expression unchanged. She stamped it with a heavy, satisfying times thunk asterisk. That'll be $185. I handed her my credit card. The whole transaction took less than 3 minutes. No fireworks, no drama. Just a quiet, decisive act of self-ownership. As I walked out of the courthouse and into the bright, warm sunshine, I felt a weight lift that I didn't even know I was carrying. It wasn't revenge, it was liberation. I got in my car, pulled out my phone, and opened my text messages. I scrolled past my mother's name, past my father's. I found Sarah's. My fingers flew across the screen. Asterisk. It's done. The petition is filed. It's going to be official, asterisk. Her reply came back almost instantly. A string of joyful emojis followed by a single perfect sentence. Asterisk. Welcome home, summer. Asterisk. Story 7. Life was good. Not movie script good, but real good. Saturday mornings smelled like my wife Susan's pancakes and the cheap maple syrup our kids Leo and Mia insisted on. We had a small house, a car that usually started, and 2 kids whose laughter could fill every room. I worked construction, hard work for decent pay, and Susan managed the home. We were a team. We were happy. I thought that was enough. Then came the rain, a slick of oil on the asphalt, and the screech of tires that was the last thing I heard before everything went black. I woke up to the smell of antiseptic and the rhythmic beep of a machine next to my bed. My first thought was of Susan and the kids. A nurse told me they were fine, that Susan was in the waiting room. Relief washed over me, so potent it was dizzying. Then the doctor came in. He had that look. The kind of look that says your life is now split into a before and an after. He explained it in calm clinical terms. Spinal cord injury, T10 vertebra. A lot of medical jargon that all boiled down to 2 words: never again. As in, I'd never again walk. Never again feel my legs. Never again chase my kids across the yard. When Susan finally came in, her eyes were red, but not from crying for me. It was the hard, dry red of someone who'd been up all night calculating. She held my hand, but her touch was like ice. "We'll get through this, Billy," she said, her voice a little too bright. "We always do." But we didn't. Her visits started getting shorter. 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. She was always on her phone, tapping away with a little smile on her face. A smile that was never for me. My mom started coming more often, her face a mask of worry. "Who's this Evan guy she's always talking about?" Mom asked one afternoon, fluffing my pillow with unnecessary force. "Evan, I don't know any Evan," I said. The name tasted like poison. "Well, she seems to," Mom muttered, avoiding my eyes. The rumors followed. Nurses whispering in the hallway. A text from a buddy from work time saw Susan at a fancy restaurant with some old dude in a Benz. Everything okay? Asterisk. Everything was not okay. The day it all shattered, she didn't even bother to sit down. She walked in wearing a dress I'd never seen before, expensive and tight. She dropped a thick manila envelope onto the thin hospital blanket covering my useless legs. "What's this?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Divorce papers," she said, her tone flat. "I can't do this, Billy. I didn't sign up to be a nurse for the rest of my life. I'm not tying myself to a cripple." The word hit me harder than the truck had. Susan. The kids. What about Leo and Mia? They need a father who can provide. A real father, not a burden. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. Evan will be a much better father to them than you could ever be now. She didn't even look back. The next few years were a special kind of hell. I was discharged from the hospital and moved into my mom's tiny spare bedroom. She was retired, living on a fixed income, but she took me in without a second thought. My world shrank to that room, a wheelchair, and the constant grinding pain in my back. I tried to call the kids. Susan had changed their numbers. I sent letters. They were returned unopened. I saw pictures on a friend's social media feed. Susan, my kids, and Evan, a silver-haired guy with a smug smile on a boat. At Disneyland. In front of a mansion. My children were living a life of luxury, and their mother was erasing me from it, one happy filtered photo at a time. When I scraped together enough for a lawyer, a letter came back from Evan's high-priced legal team. It was a cease and desist, threatening a restraining order if I tried to make any further contact. They claimed I was an unstable and bitter influence. I was too broke to fight. I was defeated. For a while, I let the darkness win. I drank too much, wallowed in my own misery, and mourned the life and the children that had been stolen from me. My mom was the one who pulled me out. Are you going to let her win? She asked one night, taking a bottle of whiskey from my hands. Are you going to let that woman be right about you? Something inside me snapped. A different kind of fire replaced the despair. It was rage. Pure, cold, and focused. I started small. I'd always been good at organizing job sites, managing crews and schedules. I used that skill, my laptop and a phone, to start a small-scale event management company from my mom's living room. I planned birthday parties, then small weddings, then corporate retreats. I worked 8-hour days, fueled by coffee and spite. It was at one of those corporate events that I met Amy. She was a caterer, and she didn't look at me with pity. She looked at me. She saw the man, not the chair. She was smart, funny, and had a fire in her that matched my own. We fell in love. We got married. We had a daughter, Lily, a bright, beautiful little girl who became my entire world. With Amy's help, my little company grew into a massive success. We weren't just comfortable. We were wealthy. The kind of wealthy that meant I could afford lawyers as good as Evan's. 12 years. It took 12 long years, but I finally had the power to fight back. I sued for visitation. Susan and Evan threw everything they had at me, painting me as an abandoner, a deadbeat. But this time I had the resources to prove my case. I had the letters I'd sent, the records of my blocked calls, the testimony from my mom. I won. The first court-ordered meeting was at a neutral coffee shop. I got there early, my heart hammering against my ribs. Amy squeezed my hand. "You've got this," she whispered, before giving me some space. Then they walked in. Leo was 16, tall and lanky, a ghost of the little boy I remembered. Mia was 14, with Susan's eyes, but a sullen expression that was all her own. They looked at me like I was a stranger. Worse, like I was a monster. "Hi," I said, my voice hoarse. "Hello," Leo mumbled, not making eye contact. Mia just stared at her phone. The conversation was brutal. Every question I asked was met with a one-word answer or a shrug. "So, what are you guys into these days, Leo? You still like soccer?" "Evan's getting me into golf," he said, a hint of defiance in his voice. "It's a better sport for making business connections." I felt a stab of pain. That was Susan's voice coming out of his mouth. "And you, Mia?" Last I remember, you were an amazing little artist." She looked up from her phone, her eyes cold. "Mom says it's not a practical career path. I'm focusing on my debate club." The hour was almost up. They were already gathering their things, eager to escape. This was it. My one chance. I couldn't let them walk away believing her lies. "Wait," I said, my voice louder, firmer. They both stopped and looked at me surprised. I reached down and pulled a thick, worn leather folder from the bag next to my chair. I slapped it down on the table between us. The sound made them both jump. "Your mother has told you a story for the last 12 years, I said, my gaze locked on theirs. "A story where I'm the villain. Where I abandoned you. Before you leave, you're going to hear the truth. You're going to see it." Leo flinched. Mia rolled her eyes, but she didn't look away. I opened the folder and slid the first thing across the table. It was a photograph of me, gaunt and pale, in that hospital bed. The date was stamped in the corner. 2 days after Susan had served me the papers. "This was me after your mother said I walked out," I said, my voice low and steady. "Does this look like a man who could walk anywhere?" Mia picked it up. Her mask of teenage indifference cracked. Just for a second. Next, I pulled out a stack of envelopes, at least 50 of them, each one addressed to them. Each one stamped with a bold red return to sender. Refused. "These are the letters I wrote you. For your birthdays. For Christmas. Just because I missed you. Your mother sent every single one back." I saw Leo's hand tremble as he reached for one. He turned it over, saw his own name in my handwriting. "She changed your phone numbers." I continued laying out printouts of my call logs. Hundreds of calls to their old number, all unanswered. She blocked my email. When I tried to go through a lawyer, this is what she and Evan sent back. I pushed the final document toward them. It was the letter from Evan's legal team. I watched their eyes scan the words times unstable, bitter, detrimental influence. Restraining order. Asterisk. Leo looked up, his face pale. "Mom said..." "She said you were drinking. That you were angry and didn't want to see us." I was broken. I said, meeting his gaze. "Your mother called me a cripple and a burden and left me in a hospital bed with nothing." Yes. I was angry. I was heartbroken. But not a single day went by that I didn't want you. Not one. Mia was crying now. Silent tears streaming down her face. She pushed a crumpled piece of paper across the table. It was a drawing. A clumsy crayon. Drawing of a stick figure man with a construction hat holding the hands of two smaller stick figures. My heart seized. I remembered that drawing. She'd given it to me the morning of the accident. "I found this in the trash when we were moving into Evan's house," Mia whispered. "Mom said I should forget about you. That Evan was our dad now. That was it. The dam broke. All the years of poison, all the carefully constructed lies washed away in the face of one crumpled drawing and a pile of refused letters." The rest of the hour wasn't a meeting. It was a reunion. They asked questions, I gave them answers. Raw, painful, honest answers. When Evan arrived to pick them up, he saw their tear-streaked faces and shot me a look of pure hatred. Leo didn't even look at him. He just walked over to me, hesitated, and then wrapped his arms around my shoulders. "I'm sorry, Dad," he choked out. Mia followed, burying her face in my side. For the first time in 12 years, I held my children. The next few weeks were a hurricane. The kids confronted Susan. From what they told me later, she tried to deny it to twist the story to paint me as a master manipulator. But the proof was undeniable. She couldn't talk her way around the return letters. Her lies crumbled, and when they did, she turned vicious, calling the kids ungrateful. That was the final nail in her coffin. They started spending every weekend with me, Amy, and their little sister Lily. They were shy at first, but Amy was warm and welcoming, and Lily adored her new older siblings. Our house, which had always been full of love, was now bursting with it. Leo and I tinkered with my specially adapted car in the garage. Mia started drawing again, filling sketchbooks in a corner of my home office while I worked. They were finding their way back to me, and I was finding the pieces of myself I thought I'd lost forever. Then came the other victory. The lawsuit for my accident, which had been grinding through the courts for years, finally settled. The trucking company's insurance folded rather than face a jury. The payout was staggering. Life-changing money. Enough to ensure my family would be secure forever. The news, of course, went public. 2 days later, my doorbell rang. Amy was out with Lily, and the kids were at school. I wheeled myself to the door and looked at the security camera feed. It was Susan. She looked older, harder. The expensive clothes couldn't hide the desperation in her eyes. I took a deep breath and opened the door. "Billy," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Can I come in?" "No," I said. Her smile faltered. "Please. We need to talk. About us. About the kids." "There is no us, Susan. The kids are inside when they're here. You're not." Her composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes, but they looked fake, practiced. "I made a mistake, Billy. A terrible, terrible mistake. I was young and scared. Evan, he was just security. A port in the storm. I was his sugar baby, that's all it ever was. It was never real. You and me, we were real." I almost laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. A 12-year mistake. You poisoned my children against me for 12 years because you were scared you left me with nothing. But look at you now, she pleaded, gesturing around at my home. You're successful. And the settlement, we could have it all back, Billy. A real family. The way it was supposed to be. I can leave, Evan. We can start over. I looked at this woman who had caused me more pain than the accident itself. I felt nothing. No anger, no hate. Just a vast cold emptiness where my love for her used to be. I have a real family. I said, my voice flat and final. My wife Amy is a real partner. My daughter Lily is a joy I never thought I'd have again. And Leo and Mia are finally home, no thanks to you. You're not a part of that family. You're just a ghost. A bad memory. I started to close the door. Wait, she shrieked, her voice turning shrill. You can't just throw me away. What about everything we had? You threw it away in a hospital room when you called me a cripple, I said, and shut the door in her face. A month later, my lawyer called. Leo and Mia had officially petitioned the court to change their primary residence. Susan and Evan fought it. But it was a pathetic last-ditch effort. The judge spoke to the kids in his chambers for 10 minutes and immediately signed the order. That weekend, I watched from my porch as Leo and Mia carried the last of their boxes into our house. They weren't just visiting anymore. They were home. My son was joking with Amy about her cooking, and Mia was showing Lily one of her new drawings. My family was whole. Later, Leo told me Evan had kicked Susan out. With the kids gone, she was no longer a valuable asset in his portfolio. She was just a liability with expensive tastes and a lot of baggage. She had nothing. She had chosen the man with the money over the man who loved her. And in the end, she was left with neither. I felt a flicker of something, not pity, but a sense of cosmic balance. She had made her bed. Now she could lie in it. Alone. Story 8. Let me set the scene. I'm 29, 6 months pregnant with our first child together, and I've spent the last 6 years of my life watching my husband Mark bleed money and time for his family. Not a loan, not a helping hand. A hemorrhage. When we first got together, I thought it was sweet. He was the good son, the reliable brother. His sister Sarah needed a few hundred for a car repair that turned into a down payment for a vacation. His brother Mike needed $1,000 for a sure thing business investment that evaporated into thin air. His parents just needed their property taxes paid. Every year. It started small. 100 here, 200 there. Then came the labor. Mark is a contractor, a damn good one. Our back deck has been half finished for 3 years because he spent 6 consecutive weekends building a brand new one for his parents. For free, of course. He rewired Sarah's entire house. He built a custom shed for Mike. All on his time, with our money paying for materials. I kept a spreadsheet. I'm not petty, I'm a realist. 2 kids from my first marriage and a baby on the way will do that to you. I wanted to see it in black and white. 6 years. $21,457. That doesn't even include the thousands in materials or the hundreds of hours of his skilled labor that could have been billable. The day I saw the positive pregnancy test, something inside me hardened. This wasn't just my money or our time anymore. This was our baby's future. This was the college fund we couldn't start, the nursery furniture we had to buy on credit, the emergency savings that was perpetually empty. I waited for him to get home from work that night. He was exhausted, covered in drywall dust from fixing a leak at his sister's place. Again. I sat him down at the kitchen table, pushed the spreadsheet across to him, and laid the positive pregnancy test on top of it. Look at that, Mark, I said, my voice shaking. That's their number. And this, I tapped, the test is ours. You have to choose. He stared at the paper, his face pale. Lillian, it's not like that. They're my family. I'm your family. I yelled, finally letting the years of frustration boil over. These kids are your family. This baby is your family. They are a financial black hole, and they are sucking us dry. We can't bring a child into this. I won't. What are you saying? I'm saying it stops. Today. No more money, no more free labor. No more dropping everything because Sarah has another emergency. You learn to say no, or we are done. I will not let you sacrifice this baby's future for them. It was the ugliest fight of our marriage. He accused me of being cruel, of not understanding family. I told him I understood family perfectly. It's the one you build and protect, not the one that uses you as a personal ATM. But he saw it. In the stark black and white of the spreadsheet, in the undeniable reality of that pregnancy test, he finally saw it. He agreed. He promised. And for 8 blissful months, he kept that promise. The first call came a week later. It was Mike. He needed $500 for a new set of tires. I watched Mark pace the living room, his hand rubbing the back of his neck. I heard him take a deep breath and say the magic word. I can't, man. We're saving for the baby. The silence on the other end was so loud I could hear it from across the room. Then came the guilt trip, the accusations. Mark held firm. He hung up looking like he'd just run a marathon, but he looked at me and smiled. A real, genuine smile. We were a team. He said no when Sarah wanted him to build her a she shed. He said no when his parents casually mentioned their home insurance premium was due. They called less and less. The silence was wonderful. We finished our back deck. We bought a crib with cash. We had a savings account with an actual growing balance. For the first time, I felt secure. I felt like we were building a life, just us. Then 2 weeks ago, Sarah called. Her voice was pure sugar. Lillian? Hi. I know we haven't talked much, but I was just thinking. Leo's birthday is on Saturday, right? We'd love to have you guys over. Just a small family thing. A little cake, a few presents. We miss you guys. My stomach clenched. Leo is my youngest. He was turning 5. They hadn't acknowledged his birthday since he was a baby. I don't know, Sarah. I said, looking over at Mark, who was already nodding eagerly. We were just planning a quiet thing at home. Oh, nonsense, she chirped. The kids need to see their cousins. Please. It would mean so much to Mom and Dad. Mark took the phone. We'll be there, sis. What time? I was furious. You know it's a trap, right? I hissed after he hung up. Lily, come on, he said, wrapping his arms around my very pregnant belly. It's for Leo's birthday. Maybe they're finally trying. Don't you think we should give them a chance? Against my better judgment, I agreed. For Mark. For the fantasy that we could actually be one big, normal, non-parasitic family. We walked into his parents' house on Saturday, and I knew I was right. There were no other guests. A single sad-looking banner drooped over the doorway spelling Happy Birthday. The cake on the counter was a small generic sheet cake from a grocery store. This wasn't a party. It was a stage. My 2 boys, bless their innocent hearts, were just excited to see their cousins. Sarah bustled over all fake smiles and handed Leo a thin envelope. Happy birthday, sweetie. Leo tore it open. Inside was a crisp $1 bill. He looked at it confused. He looked at me. I forced a smile. Say thank you, honey. Mark's face was a stone mask. He saw it too. This wasn't a gift. It was an admission ticket. A transaction. They had fulfilled the birthday part of the invitation. And now it was time for the main event. As if on cue, Sarah clapped her hands together. Okay, kids, it's such a nice day. Why don't you all go play in the backyard for a little bit? The grown-ups need to talk. My blood ran cold. The kids scrambled out the sliding glass door, their shouts and laughter fading as it clicked shut. The silence they left behind was heavy and suffocating. Mark me, Sarah, Mike, and both of his parents. We were all arranged in the living room like a firing squad. My father-in-law leaned forward, his hands clasped on the coffee table, and the phony smile finally dropped from his face. Mark, Lillian, he began, his voice low and dead serious. We have a problem. Here we go, I thought. The main event. His father, A man who hadn't worked a real job in a decade fixed Mark with a look of paternal disappointment he'd perfected over 35 years. The county reassessed the back acreage, the tax bill came in and… well, it's more than we can handle. Sarah jumped in her voice, quivering with fake desperation. They'll put a lien on the house if we don't pay it, Mark. We could lose everything. I almost laughed. They said that every time. It was their favorite line. I glanced at Mark, expecting to see the resolve we'd built over the last 8 months. I expected to see our team captain. Instead, I saw a stranger. His jaw was tight, his shoulders were hunched, and his eyes were fixed on the floor. He wouldn't look at me. He was already gone. He was their son again, not my husband. How much, Mark asked, his voice barely a whisper. $1,500, Mike said, finally speaking up. We pulled what we could, but we're short. My mouth opened. 1,000 protests, 1,000 reminders of our promise fought their way up my throat. Mark, we… A hand clamped down on my arm. Hard. I looked down and saw Mark's fingers digging into my flesh. I looked up at his face, and he was staring straight ahead at his father. But his next word was for me. A low guttural command. Don't. The air left my lungs. He didn't just break his promise. He was physically silencing me to do it. He was holding me down so he could offer up our baby's future. On the altar of their dysfunction. In that 1 second, in that single word, he chose them. Loud and clear. The shock turned to ice in my veins, then to fire. He let go of my arm, the spell broken, and turned his full attention to his family, a placating smile already forming on his lips. Okay, he said, the word of a defeated man. Okay. Let me just see what we can. No. My voice was sharp, cutting through the thick, cloying atmosphere of bullshit in the room. 5 heads swiveled to look at me. Mark's face was a mask of fury and disbelief. I stood up, my pregnant belly making the movement a little clumsy, but no less defiant. I looked at each of them. Sarah, the master manipulator. Mike, the failed entrepreneur. His mother, the silent enabler. His father, the pathetic patriarch. No. I repeated, my voice, now loud and clear and shaking with a rage that had been simmering for 6 years. You are not getting another damn cent from us. Ever. I pointed a finger at his father. You want to pay your land taxes, sell the acre. Or better yet, get a job. I swung my finger to Sarah. You want a she shed. Learn what a hammer is. Lily and Mark hissed, stepping towards me. I ignored him, my eyes locking on the whole pathetic group of them. I have sat by and watched you people bleed my husband dry for 6 years. I have a list. $21,000. That's a down payment on a house. That's a college fund. That's the money you stole, not from him, but from his children. I took a deep breath. The final filter gone. You are a bunch of damn moochers. The silence was absolute. The shock on their faces was almost worth it. Almost. I didn't wait for the explosion. I turned, walked to the sliding glass door, and yanked it open. Leo, Ben, we're leaving. Now, my boys came running, their faces flushed from playing, blissfully unaware of the bomb I'd just detonated. I herded them toward the front door without a backward glance. I didn't need to look. I could feel Mark's rage burning a hole in my back. The car ride home was a tomb. The kids, sensing the tension, were silent in the back seat. Mark drove his hands, strangling the steering wheel. He didn't say a word until we were inside our own house, the one he barely had time to maintain. The moment the door clicked shut behind us, he erupted. "What the hell was that, Lillian?" He roared, his face red. "You have no right to speak to my family that way." "Your family," I shot back, my voice dangerously low. "The family that set a trap for us using my son's birthday as bait. The family that demanded money we don't have after you promised me. You swore to me it was over. You embarrassed me. You sat there and called my parents moochers in their own home. You completely disrespected me. That was it. The core of it all. Not his broken promise. Not the ambush, not the blatant financial manipulation. It was his pride. His image in front of the people who had been using him his entire life. Disrespected you." I laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. "You put your hands on me, Mark. You held me down so you could break the most important promise you've ever made to me. You were about to give them the money we saved for this baby's hospital bills. Don't you dare talk to me about disrespect. You chose them over us. Over me, over your sons, over your unborn child. You chose them." He had no answer for that. He just stood there, his chest heaving, his anger warring with the truth of my words. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Finally, he just shook his head. "I can't even look at you right now." He grabbed a pillow from the couch and a blanket from the hall closet and stormed into our bedroom, slamming the door behind him. The message was clear. I was the one being exiled. I could have the couch. I stood in the silent living room for a long time, the kids peeking out from their rooms with wide, scared eyes. I forced a smile for them, told them to get ready for bed, and went through the motions of our nightly routine. But after they were asleep, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. The rage had burned out, leaving behind a cold, hard clarity. He would never change. He would always choose them. The bleeding would never stop unless I took a tourniquet to our life. I walked into our home office and opened my laptop. I logged into our joint bank account. I saw the balance. We'd been so proud of the money for the baby, our emergency fund, the first real cushion we'd ever had. I clicked transfer funds. I opened a new savings account in my name only. I typed in the full amount from our joint savings, leaving exactly $100 behind. I hit confirm. Then I did the same with our joint checking, transferring his last paycheck over, leaving just enough to cover the mortgage payment that was on auto draft. I sat back staring at the screen. The money was safe now. Our children's money was safe. It wasn't revenge. It was a rescue mission. I had finally accepted that I was married to a man who would let his own family sink just to bail out his parents' leaky boat one more time. And I would not go down with the ship. Story 9. It was his rule. His idea. That's the part that really kills me. We only go together, Sarah, Mark had said a year ago, his hands shaking so badly he could barely hold his coffee cup. He looked broken that day, truly broken, after blowing through our savings. That way we have a set amount, we have fun, and we leave when we say we're gonna leave. It's the only way I can control it. It sounded so reasonable, so responsible. It was the first time he'd ever suggested a boundary for himself, and my stupid, hopeful heart latched onto it like a life raft. For a year it worked. We'd go once a month, take out $200, and leave when it was gone. It felt almost normal. I started to breathe again. That Friday, the breathing stopped. The $800 for his truck loan was sitting on the kitchen counter in a crisp white envelope. I just pulled it from the ATM. He was supposed to drive it over to the credit union before they closed at 6. "Hey, I'm gonna run out and take care of this," he said, walking into the kitchen. He kissed me on the cheek, his lips dry. The kids were shrieking in the living room, deep in some epic battle between a T-Rex and a unicorn. Normal Friday stuff. "Okay, hurry back. I'm making that lasagna you like," I said, not looking up from the onions I was dicing. He grabbed the envelope. "Be back in 20. 20 minutes turned into 40. I'd finished the prep and slid the lasagna into the oven. I called his phone. It rang and then clicked to voicemail. "Hey, it's Mark." Weird. He always answers. I called again 10 minutes later. Straight to voicemail. A cold knot formed in my stomach, familiar and heavy. It was the old feeling, the one I'd thought I'd buried. Asterisk. No times I told myself. Asterisk. Don't go there. His phone probably died. He ran into a friend. Asterisk. I had a whole list of perfectly logical excuses I used to recite like a prayer. But they felt flimsy tonight, transparent. I pulled the kids away from their toys and got them to the dinner table. They were asking where Daddy was. "He'll be home soon, sweeties," I said, my voice sounding thin and high. After they were in bed, the house fell silent. 9:00 p.m. The lasagna was cold on the stove. His truck was not in the driveway. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone. I hated this part. Hated that I had to do it, hated that he'd made our marriage a thing that needed surveillance. I opened the Find My app. His icon, a little blue dot, with his initials, popped up on the screen. It wasn't anywhere near the credit union. It wasn't near his buddy's house. It was a bright, damning circle moving steadily east on I-84. The highway to Mohegan Sunday. My thumb hovered over the message icon. My first text was deceptively calm. Asterisk, asterisk, I see where you are. Asterisk, asterisk. The little blue text bubble popped up, a tiny beacon of hope. He'd see it. He'd realize he was caught. He'd turn around. A minute later, the word appeared beneath my message times. Read asterisk. The blue dot kept moving east. My blood started to simmer. I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail. He was declining my calls. He was actively ignoring me. I went back to our messages, my thumbs flying across the screen. Asterisk, asterisk, Mark, that was the truck payment. ALL of it. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk. Read asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. If you don't make that payment, they will take the truck. How will you get to work? Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk. Read asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, answer your phone. Right now. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk. Read asterisk. Nothing. Just the silent, passive-aggressive confirmation that he was receiving my pleas and choosing the casino over his family. Over me. The panic was a physical thing clawing its way up my throat. I could see it all happening again, the empty accounts, the frantic calls to bill collectors, the shame. I looked at the map again. He was taking the exit. The one with the giant glittering sign I knew by heart. He was there. He'd made his choice. Something inside me snapped. The hope, the patience, the carefully constructed facade of the supportive wife, it all just shattered. All that was left was white-hot rage. My fingers didn't even shake this time. They were steady. Cold. Asterisk, asterisk, you are a damn idiot. Gambling our bill money again. You broke the one rule. You broke my trust. Asterisk, asterisk. I stared at the words, my own venom surprising me. It wasn't enough. He needed to understand this wasn't just another fight we'd get over. This was the end of a chapter. I kept typing. Asterisk, asterisk. Turn the car around right now. Or me and the kids will be gone when you get back. Asterisk, asterisk. I hit send. The word times delivered times appeared instantly. Then a moment later, the one I was waiting for. Asterisk. Read asterisk. I held my breath, watching the screen, waiting for the three little dots of the typing bubble to appear. For a call. For anything. There was only silence. I switched back to the map. The little blue dot had stopped moving. It was sitting right in the middle of the Mohegan Sun North parking garage. He made his choice. Now I had to make mine. I walked down the hall and pushed open the door to my daughter's room. Lily was curled up with her stuffed bear, her breath a soft, steady rhythm in the dim glow of her nightlight. In the next room, Leo was sprawled out on his stomach, one leg hanging off his little race car bed. They were safe. They were innocent. And I would not let him drag them down with him. Not this time. My feet carried me to the hall closet. I reached up to the top shelf and pulled down two small rolling suitcases, one pink and one blue. I set them on the floor in the middle of the hallway. The silence in the house was absolute, broken only by the sharp, decisive sound of a zipper being pulled open. My phone buzzed on the nightstand at 3:14 a.m. A harsh vibrating sound against the unfamiliar wood. His name glowed on the screen, times mark asterisk. For a split second, my heart leaped with the stupid conditioned hope that he was sorry, that he was parked outside, that he'd made a terrible mistake. I watched it buzz, a frantic little dance of desperation. Then I rolled over, silencing the screen with my thumb and pressing my face into my cousin Jenna's lumpy guest pillow. Let it ring. The next morning, Jenna made pancakes, trying to create a pocket of normal in the chaos I dragged through her front door at midnight. Lily and Leo were mostly just excited to be having a sleepover. Their giggles a sharp contrast to the lead weight in my gut. My phone rang again around 10. His work number. I knew he'd try to act like it was a normal day. I answered but said nothing. Sarah? Are you there? His voice was strained, the forced calm of a man, trying to sound like he wasn't the bad guy. Look, I know you're pissed, but you can't just take the kids, and... I ended the call. My thumb went to my photo gallery. I found a picture I'd taken an hour earlier, Lily and Leo sitting on Jenna's couch, mouths ringed with syrup, smiling at the camera. I sent it to him without a word. The message was clear, times. They're fine. They're with me. This is not about them anymore. This is about you. Asterisk. 2 minutes later, my mother called. Sarah, what on earth is going on? She asked, her voice tight with disapproval. Your father and I just got off the phone with Mark. He's a mess. He said you called him a damn idiot. I closed my eyes. Of course he called them. He always plays the victim. He stole $800 of our bill money to go to the casino, Mom. I understand you're upset, Honey, but your language. And to take the children. To leave your home in the middle of the night. That's not how you solve problems in a marriage. You're punishing him. A hot spike of shame and anger shot through me. He punished himself, Mom. He broke the rule. The only rule that was keeping us afloat. You need to go home and talk to your husband, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. This is a mistake. I hung up feeling smaller. The righteous anger from the night before curdling into doubt. Was she right? Did I overreact? I was the one who left. I was the one who took the kids. In his story, I was the villain. The showdown came late that afternoon. He called from his cell phone this time. I took a deep breath and walked out onto Jenna's back porch. What do you want, Mark? I asked, my voice flat. I expected begging. I expected promises. I expected a broken man full of regret. I got a monster. What do I want? He spat, his voice dripping with a venom I hadn't heard in years. I want to know who the hell you think you are talking to me like that. A damn idiot. After everything I do for this family, my jaw went slack. Everything you do. You gambled away the truck payment. They're going to repossess it. Oh, so this is about the money. You think our marriage is about $800? He laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. This is about you and your need to control everything. You couldn't stand that I did one thing for myself. For yourself. It was his rule, not mine. The words caught in my throat, choked with disbelief. He was twisting everything, rewriting history right before my ears. It doesn't matter. You don't get to talk to me like that, and you damn sure don't get to steal my kids in the middle of the night because you're having a tantrum. A tantrum. I whispered the word, knocking the air from my lungs. Yeah, a tantrum, he snarled. So you know what? You were so desperate to leave, then leave. Stay gone until you figure your crap out. Don't call me. Don't text me. I'm done. The line went dead. He hung up on me. I stood on the porch, phone in my hand, staring at the peeling paint on Jenna's railing. The world felt tilted, unreal. He wasn't sorry. He was angry. He had taken his betrayal and fashioned it into a weapon to use against me. My hands were shaking again, but not with rage. It was something else. A cold, clear dread. On autopilot, I opened the app for our home security system. I don't know why. Maybe I just needed to see the empty living room, the quiet kitchen to ground myself. But the screen was black. Under each camera feed in small gray letters was the same message: times camera offline, asterisk, living room, kitchen, front door. All of them. He unplugged them. The moment he got off the phone with me, his first move was to cut me out. To blind me. It wasn't a mistake or a power surge. It was a statement. Asterisk. This is my house. You are not welcome here. You don't get to see inside anymore. Asterisk. It was so calculated. So controlling. So final. That single deliberate act did what my mother's judgment and my own self-doubt couldn't. It erased any question of whether I'd done the right thing. The man I was married to didn't just have a gambling problem. He had a cruelty problem. He would burn our entire life to the ground just to avoid admitting he was the one holding the match. And he would stand in the ashes and tell everyone I was the one who started the fire. I looked through the sliding glass door. Leo was building a tower of blocks on the floor, and Lily was showing Jenna a drawing she'd made. They were safe. They were happy. They were away from him. The ultimatum I'd given him wasn't a threat anymore. It was a promise to my children. I finally understood that saving my marriage was impossible. My only job now was to save my family from it. Story teen. The last thing I did before leaving for my work trip was check the new gate lock. It was a beast, a heavy-duty deadbolt that clicked shut with the satisfying finality of a bank vault. The fence was 8 feet of solid black aluminum, perfectly code-compliant, and I thought perfectly teenager-proof. The pool shimmered a pristine turquoise jewel I'd sunk half my savings into. My own private oasis. 2 weeks in Chicago for a conference, and then I'd be back to enjoy it. I should have known it was too good to be true. The moment my car pulled into the driveway, 2 weeks later I felt it. A knot in my stomach. The side gate, the one with the brand new lock, was slightly ajar. Not wide open, just enough to scream that something was wrong. I dropped my suitcase on the gravel and walked over. The deadbolt wasn't picked. It was destroyed. The metal around it was warped and splintered like someone had taken a crowbar to it. My backyard looked like a hurricane had hit a frat house. Red Solo cups and beer cans littered the grass, some floating like little plastic buoys in my once pristine pool. A lawn chair was overturned, one of its legs snapped clean off. Cigarette butts were ground into the new patio stones. Someone had even thrown a half-eaten hot dog into one of the skimmers. The whole place reeked of stale beer and chlorine. Rage, cold and sharp, went through me. I didn't even clean up. I walked straight inside, went to my office, and pulled up the security feed on my desktop. The system had 4 HD cameras, all motion activated. The files were all their timestamp. I clicked play on the first one from 5 nights ago. It was like watching a nature documentary, except the animals were a pack of local high schoolers. The first 2 lanky kids in hoodies spent 10 minutes prying at the gate before it finally gave way. Then the floodgates opened. Over 20 of them poured into my yard like it was a public water park. I watched for an hour, fast-forwarding through the grainy nighttime footage. I saw every face. I saw the kid who broke my lawn chair by trying to do a backflip off it. I saw the girl who laughed as she flicked her cigarette into the pool. I saw them all clear as day, their smug, entitled faces illuminated by the pool lights I'd paid a fortune to install. I saved the clips to a thumb drive. I had them. The next morning, I walked into the police station. The town is small, the kind of place where the police mostly deal with parking tickets and lost dogs. The officer at the desk, a guy named Miller with a gut that strained the buttons of his uniform, looked bored before I even opened my mouth. "Can I help you?" he sighed. "I need to file a report," I said, placing the thumb drive on the counter. "Breaking and entering, vandalism, trespassing." Miller picked up the drive and dangled it between his fingers. "Okay. What happened?" I laid it all out. The 2-week trip, the broken lock, the trashed yard, the pool. "It's all on there," I said, pointing to the drive. "HD video. You can see every one of their faces." He didn't seem impressed. He leaned back in his chair, which groaned in protest. "Look, kids do stupid things. They probably saw the new pool and got carried away. You sure you want to make a big deal out of this?" I stared at him. "A big deal. They did thousands of dollars in damage and broke into my property. Yes, I want to make a big deal out of it. That's your job." His eyes narrowed. My job is to keep the peace. Dragging 20 kids and their families through the mud over a pool party isn't exactly keeping the peace. Just watch the video, I said, my voice tight. Then do your job. He sighed again, a long theatrical exhale. Fine. Leave it here. We'll take a look when we get a chance. A week went by. Nothing. I called and was told Officer Miller was looking into it. Another week. I called again. Miller was out on patrol. I left a message. He didn't call back. The message was clear: they were going to bury this. My trashed yard was cleaned up, the pool filter was fixed, but the anger was still simmering. I was being stonewalled. In my own town. I walked back into the station 2 weeks to the day after I dropped off the evidence. Miller was at the same desk, sipping a coffee. He looked up, and the briefest flicker of annoyance crossed his face before he smoothed it over. Austin, right? We're still investigating, he said before I could speak. No, you're not, I said, keeping my voice level. You haven't done a thing. You haven't called me. You haven't identified a single person from that crystal clear video I gave you. These things take time. I'm done waiting. I leaned forward, planting my hands on his desk. Here's the deal, Officer Miller. Either you start making arrests by the end of this week, or my lawyer is going to file a lawsuit against this department for dereliction of duty. And trust me, he'll be very interested in seeing that video too. The color drained from his face. The word lawsuit hangs different in a small town. It's a threat that echoes. He held up his hands. Okay. Calm down. There's no need for that. Let me make some calls. I walked out of there, feeling a grim sense of satisfaction. It was a bluff. I didn't have a lawyer, but it had worked. And then for another week, silence. I was about to make good on my threat, find a lawyer in the city, when my phone finally rang. It was an unknown number. This is Officer Miller. His voice was flat, all the folksy charm gone. Finally, I said, so you have some names for me? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear him breathing. We've identified a few of them, Austin, he said, slowly, his voice dropping to a low conspiratorial tone. But, look, before we proceed, you need to understand something. Understand what? Another pause. The thing is, he said, his voice heavy, with warning, there are some names on this list. Important names. You might want to seriously reconsider how far you want to take this. Important names. I laughed a short, sharp bark of disbelief. What the hell is that supposed to mean, Miller? Is this town so broken that some last names are get-out-of-jail-free cards? I'm just telling you how it is, he said, his voice a low rumble. These aren't just any kids. Their parents are involved in the community. You push this, it's going to get messy. For you. The threat hung in the air, thick and greasy. It wasn't about justice anymore. It was about who knew who. I don't care if the governor's son was doing cannonballs into my pool, Miller. They broke the law. File the charges. That's an order from a citizen and a taxpayer. Do your job. I hung up before he could answer. The first volley didn't come from the police. It came from my own girlfriend, Sarah. She showed up that evening with a bottle of wine and a worried look on her face. I ran into Carol Ann downtown, she said, avoiding my eyes as she uncorked the wine. Carol Ann was the town's biggest gossip. She said, you're trying to press charges against half the high school. I'm pressing charges against the 21 individuals who broke into my house and caused $5,000 in damages I corrected. She finally looked at me, her expression pain. Austin, they're kids. They did a stupid thing. Are you really going to brand them all as criminals? Ruin their chances at college, their futures over a dumb party. They broke my gate with a crowbar. Sarah. They trashed my property. The dumb party was a crime. What am I supposed to do? Send them a thank you note? You're supposed to be the adult, she said, her voice rising. You could just talk to the parents, make them pay for the damages. Why do you have to be such a bully about it? It's just a pool. The word bully landed like a punch to the gut. A bully, I'm the victim here. Are you? She shot back. Or are you a guy with a new pool who can't stand that some kids had fun in it without your permission? I stared at her, speechless. It was like I was speaking a different language. We didn't resolve it. She left the full wine bottle on the counter and walked out. The next call was from my mother. Her voice was pure weaponized guilt. Austin, honey, I heard what's happening. Mrs. Gable from the church group called me. Her grandson was there. She's worried sick. You know these families, we have to live here. Please, for my sake, just let this go. Even my best friend Mark cornered me at our usual spot for a beer. Dude, I get it. You're pissed. But you're going up against the whole town on this. Is this the hill you really want to die on? It felt like the walls were closing in. Every conversation was the same. I wasn't the victim. I was the villain. The unreasonable asshole making a mountain out of a molehill. I felt totally, utterly alone. It was me against everyone. That night, unable to sleep, I did what any desperate person does. I went online. I found a generic legal advice forum, created a temporary account, and laid out the whole story, stripping out names and locations. The break-in, the video, the damage, the police stonewalling, the pressure from family and friends. I hit post and watched the screen, expecting to be called an asshole there too. The comments trickled in. Most were supportive. NTA. Your property, your rules. Call a lawyer and the local news. But then one comment stopped me cold. Asterisk user. Small Town Blues wrote, I guarantee the cops aren't lazy. They're scared. There's a big fish in that group of kids. Mayor's kid, police chief's nephew, something like that. They're not protecting the kids, they're protecting their own jobs. Find out who they are. That's your leverage. Asterisk. The words clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Miller's warning about important names. The coordinated town-wide pressure. It wasn't a random social phenomenon. It was a defense mechanism. The next day, I got a text from a guy I knew from high school, Kevin. He worked for a pool maintenance company, the one I'd hired to fix the filter. Asterisk, hey man, can we talk off the record? Asterisk, we met at a coffee shop in the next town over. He looked nervous, constantly glancing over his shoulder. Look, Austin, I shouldn't be doing this, he started, his voice low. But my boss showed me your security footage to identify what kind of crap was in the skimmer. I saw the kids. I leaned forward. And he took a deep breath. You know Mayor Jenkins' daughter, Ashley. She's the one who was flicking cigarettes into the pool. And the kid who did the backflip off your chair and broke it. That's Jason Thompson. Judge Thompson's kid. It's a who's who of this town's country club roster. There it was. The ugly, simple truth. I wasn't fighting a bunch of delinquent teens. I was fighting the town's power structure. Pressing charges wasn't just ruining the kids' futures. It was threatening their parents. And in a town this small, people like that don't forgive. They don't forget. They get even. My business permits, my property taxes, simple traffic stops, my life could become a bureaucratic nightmare. I'd be a permanent outsider in my own home. I went home, my anger replaced by something colder. A clear, hard sense of strategy. I couldn't win a public war, but I could still win the battle. I pulled out my phone and dialed Officer Miller. Austin. He answered, his voice wary. Have you had some time to think? I have, I said, my tone even and calm. It clearly unnerved him. I've decided to drop the request for criminal charges. I could hear the relief in his exhale. Good. That's a smart move. I'll let the families know. I'm not finished. I cut in, my voice turning to ice. I'm dropping the criminal charges on one condition. You are going to arrange a meeting with me and every single parent of every kid in that video. It will be held at my house tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Whoa, now I can't force them to. You won't have to force them, Miller. You're going to give them a choice. They can either show up at my house with a checkbook, or they can watch their little darlings on the 11 o'clock news. I sent a copy of the video to a reporter in the city this afternoon. His name is Dan Matthews. He's very interested in a story about small-town corruption and how the children of the elite are above the law. Whether he runs that story depends entirely on how my meeting goes tomorrow night. The silence on the other end of the line was absolute. I had him. I had all of them. The next evening, my driveway was filled with Mercedes, BMWs, and oversized SUVs. One by one, they filed into my living room, the mayor, the judge, the doctors, the business owners. They stood in awkward silence, refusing to look at me, their faces a mask of resentment and humiliation. I stood before them, a single sheet of paper in my hand. Good evening, I said, my voice echoing in the quiet room. There's no need for introductions. I have an itemized list of the damages. The new deadbolt. The patio chair. The full drain and cleaning of the pool. The repair of the filtration system. Miscellaneous cleanup. And a $500 inconvenience fee for my time. The total is $6,475. I placed the invoice on the coffee table. That comes out to $309 per family. I don't care how you split it up. I just want to check for the full amount on this table before you leave. Once I have it, the matter is closed. The video disappears forever. Any questions? No one spoke. The silence was thick with what they couldn't say. After a long moment, Judge Thompson stepped forward, pulled out a checkbook, and wrote. One by one, the others followed suit, a procession of simmering, impotent rage. They didn't get justice. But I did.
Story 11.
3 months ago, Sarah and I were in bed laughing. We just downloaded one of those fertility tracking apps, the kind with a pastel color scheme and little cartoon storks. After 18 years together, we were finally going for it. We were going to be parents. I remember tracing the curve of her hip thinking times, this is it. This is the next chapter, asterisk. 1 month ago, Sarah came home from work, dropped her keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, a sound I'd heard 10,000 times, and walked into the living room where I was watching the game. She didn't kiss me. She just stood there blocking the TV. "I need some space, Rob," she said. I muted the sound. "Okay. Bad day at the office." "No. I mean, I need space. From this." She waved a hand around the room in our life. "I'm going to sleep in the guest room." Just like that. The switch flipped. An 18-year history gone. The woman who just weeks ago was charting her ovulation cycles was now a stranger building a wall down the middle of our home. The first casualty was language. Babe and honey vanished overnight. I became Rob. Then a few days later, Robert. It felt like a demotion. Next was the phone. Her screen, which had always been an open book, was now permanently face down on the counter. If I walked into a room while she was texting, she'd lock it with a frantic jab of her thumb. She carried it with her to the bathroom, to the kitchen to get the mail. It was a new limb one I wasn't allowed to touch. Then came the drinking. Sarah was a social drinker. A glass of wine with dinner person. Suddenly she was downing 2-3 glasses of bourbon on a Tuesday night, staring at the wall. The silence was deafening. I tried to break through. "Sarah, talk to me. What's going on?" "We were just trying for a baby." She wouldn't look at me. She just swirled the amber liquid in her glass. "I feel like we got married too young. We never had a chance to be our own people." "We were 22, I said. "We grew up together. That was the whole point." "I wanted kids years ago, Robert," she'd say a week later, a complete 180. "I feel like I've missed my window. We are literally times trying right now." I'd remind her, my voice tight with frustration. It was like arguing with a ghost. She was rewriting our entire history, inserting new plot points and motivations that never existed, all to justify the cold, empty space she was carving out between us. Any physical touch was out of the question. I tried to put my arm around her on the couch, and she flinched away like I was a hot poker. 18 years of casual intimacy, a hand on the small of her back, a kiss on the forehead erased. My confusion started hardening into suspicion. The pieces didn't fit. This wasn't a woman having a midlife crisis. This was a woman executing a plan. The first piece of concrete evidence came from her handbag. I was looking for a pin, and my fingers brushed against a thick cardstock envelope. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. It was from a coworker. The front had a picture of a weeping willow. Inside the note read, "Thinking of you. I know how hard it is to mourn a future life you thought you wanted. Be strong." Asterisk. Mourning her future lifetimes. The one with me. The one with the baby we were planning. The phrase chilled me to the bone. It was premeditated. Then came the breaking point. The text message that shattered any remaining hope that this was all in my head. I was at my desk at work when my phone buzzed. It was Sarah. Asterisk K random question. My pen pal from Sweden, Lars, is flying to Australia for a work thing. He has a long layover and was thinking of detouring to our city for a day or two. Would you mind if I met up with him? Just to show him around. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, my blood turning to ice. A 7,000-mile detour. I pulled up a map. Our city was nowhere near any logical flight path from Sweden to Australia. It was the most absurd, insulting lie I had ever heard. Her pen pal. She'd mentioned him a few times over the years, some guy she exchanged emails with about Scandinavian literature. An innocent hobby, I'd thought. Now it felt like the key to everything. This wasn't a coincidence. This was an arrival. I texted back a single word times. Fine. Asterisk. 2 weeks later, she announced her own trip. A few of the girls from work and I are going away for a weekend, she said, not making eye contact. Just a little getaway. A cabin kind of Aspen-like. To clear my head. I knew she was lying. I could feel it in my gut. But I just nodded. Okay. Have fun. The moment she left that Friday, I became a detective in the ruins of my own life. The girls' trip was my window. I started with our joint credit card statement online. The first charge hit Saturday morning. Not a rustic cabin. A 5-star boutique hotel downtown called the Chamberlain. Then came the restaurant charges. A $200 dinner at a French bistro table for two. A $50 charge for valet parking at the hotel. Her flight for the detour wasn't until Sunday evening. This was his welcome party. I needed more. I remembered my neighbor had a new security camera pointed at the street. I went over, fed him some story about a package I thought had been stolen, and asked if I could review his footage from Friday afternoon. He was happy to help. There it was. 3:15 p.m. Sarah walking out our front door with her duffel bag. But she didn't get into an Uber. A sleek black Audi I'd never seen before pulled up. A man got out of the driver's side. Tall, blonde, undeniably. Not one of her girlfriends, and put her bag in the trunk. He opened her door for her. Then they drove away. The weekend passed in a blur of cold fury. Sunday night came and went. No Sarah. Monday, her phone went straight to voicemail. On Tuesday, I got a text. Asterisk. Hey, we decided to extend the trip a few days. The mountains are just too beautiful. Be home Friday. Asterisk. A weekend trip had become a full week. I didn't reply. I just worked. I ate. I slept in our empty bed. I was a machine functioning on fumes of betrayal. Friday finally came. I knew she'd be home in the afternoon. Before she arrived, I went into the guest room to grab the laundry basket. Her travel bag was on the floor unzipped. Something inside caught my eye. It was a clear plastic case. Inside it, nestled next to her toothbrush, was another one. A man's toothbrush. Dark gray firm bristles. Not a disposable hotel freebie. It was a brand I'd never seen before. It was his. The sheer domesticity of it hit me harder than the hotel receipts or the video footage. The affair wasn't just fancy dinners and secret nights. It was brushing their teeth together in the morning. It was intimate. It was real. I took the toothbrush and placed it in the center of the coffee table in the living room. It looked small and insignificant, but I knew it was a grenade. I sat on the couch, my hands resting on my knees, perfectly still. I wasn't sad anymore. The anger had burned itself out, leaving behind something cold and clear. Resolution. I waited. An hour later, I heard the sound I'd been waiting for. The crunch of tires on the gravel driveway. A car door slamming shut. Then the jingle of keys at the front door. The deadbolt slid back with a heavy final sounding times thunk asterisk. The doorknob began to turn. The door opened and Sarah walked in, dropping her duffel bag with a weary sigh. She was tanned, her hair lighter from the sun. She looked relaxed. Happy. "Hey," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm back." God, the traffic was insane. She started to walk toward the kitchen, but stopped when she saw me on the couch. Then her eyes drifted down to the coffee table, to the single dark gray toothbrush sitting in the middle of the polished wood. She froze. For a full 10 seconds, she said nothing. Her brain was whirring, trying to calculate the odds to formulate a lie. "What's that?" she finally asked, her voice a little too high. "I was hoping you could tell me," I said. My own voice was steady calm. It felt like it belonged to someone else. "It's a toothbrush, Robert." "Obviously." She walked over, picked it up, and examined it with feigned curiosity. "I must have picked it up at the hotel. You know, a spare. The Chamberlain doesn't give out $50 electric toothbrushes as spares, Sarah. And they certainly don't have valet receipts for 2 from Le Rêve Bistro." I gestured to a small stack of papers next to where the toothbrush had been. "Or charges for room service champagne at 2 a.m. on a Saturday." The color drained from her face. Her mask of breezy indifference shattered. "You went through my things. You spied on me." I confirmed my suspicions. Her eyes narrowed. The victimhood was gone, replaced by a flash of defiance. "Why are you so angry? It's not like we've been in a good place." I almost laughed. The sheer audacity of it was breathtaking. "A month ago, you were tracking your ovulation cycle on a fertility app with me. A times ago. Don't you dare pretend this is some long, slow drift apart. This was a demolition. Planned and executed. We were separated." She shot back, her voice cracking. "I told you I needed space. We were sleeping in different rooms." There it was. The justification she had constructed in her head, the lie she would tell herself and everyone else, the legal loophole for her conscience. "No, Sarah," I said, standing up. I was taller than her, and for the first time in a long time I felt it. You times were separated. I was just your roommate while you waited for your boyfriend to fly 7,000 miles. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. The word boyfriend hung in the air between us, ugly and undeniable. She had no defense left. The lies had run out. She just stood there, clutching the toothbrush in her fist like a weapon she'd forgotten how to use. "Get out of my way, Robert," she whispered, brushing past me towards the guest room. She slammed the door, and the sound echoed through the silent house. I didn't follow her. I didn't shout. I just stood there in the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of our life together. The anger was gone. The hurt was gone. All I felt was a profound, hollow clarity. It was over. It had been over for weeks. I was just catching up. The next morning, I woke up before she did. I went into my Times bedroom and opened my sock drawer. I took off my wedding ring. The white gold was worn from my skin. For 18 years, it hadn't left my finger. I looked at the pale, untanned line it left behind. A scar from a life that was no longer mine. I dropped it in the drawer and closed it. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. I Googled best divorce lawyer in the city and made a call. I booked a consultation for the following afternoon. It was all remarkably simple, a series of administrative tasks to dismantle a life. When Sarah finally emerged from the guest room, her eyes were puffy. She avoided looking at me, busying herself with the kettle as if it were the most important task in the world. She was waiting for me to yell, to cry, to beg. She needed me to be the villain, the hysterical, controlling husband, so she could be the victim who was driven into another man's arms. I refused to give her the satisfaction. "I have a call with a lawyer tomorrow," I said calmly, taking a sip of my coffee. "I'll be filing. We need to figure out the logistics of you moving out." She spun around, her face a mask of disbelief. "A lawyer already? You're not even going to try to talk about this." "What is there to talk about, Sarah? You made your choice. You had a week-long romantic getaway with another man while you let me think you were on a girl's trip. You brushed your teeth with him. The talking phase is over. For the next 2 weeks, we lived as ghosts. Polite, silent roommates who communicated via text message if absolutely necessary. I watched her, not with anger or sadness anymore, but with a kind of morbid curiosity. I saw her on her phone constantly, a small secret smile on her face. She was texting him. Lars. Sometimes I'd hear her on the phone in the guest room, her voice low and happy, speaking in a way she hadn't spoken to me in years. It didn't hurt. It was just information. It was confirmation that I'd done the right thing. This wasn't a mistake she'd made. It was a future she'd chosen. The hardest part was telling people. I started with my parents, then hers. I kept it simple, factual. Sarah and I are getting a divorce. She had an affair. Her parents were mortified. Mine were furious. The narrative she wanted of two people who simply grew apart was dead on arrival. I made sure of it. I wasn't going to let her rewrite our history to absolve herself. The truth was the only thing I had left, and I wielded it like a shield. One evening, I came home from the gym to find her packing boxes in the living room. Her phone was on the counter, lit up with a new message. I couldn't help but glance at it. It was from Lars. Asterisk, only a few more weeks until I see you, my love. Then we can finally start for real. Asterisk. Sarah saw me looking. She snatched the phone, a guilty look on her face. A month ago, that sight would have shattered me. Now nothing. It was like watching a scene from a movie I'd already seen. I knew how it ended for me. I'm moving out at the end of the month, she said, not looking at me. I found a place. Good, I said, and walked to the fridge to grab a bottle of water. I felt a strange sense of peace settle over me. The war was over. The house would be quiet. My life would be my own again. She could have her pen pal and her rewritten history. I was looking forward to a blank page, a future I hadn't mourned, but one I was finally ready to write.
Story 12.
5 years. That's a long time. It's long enough to build a life, to merge your friends, to know someone's coffee order by heart. For me and Claire, it was long enough to survive the break. A year ago, we hit a rough patch. We took a month apart to figure things out. I figured out I was miserable without her. She figured things out with Mark, a senior designer at her firm. She swore it was nothing, just a mistake born from confusion. A trauma bond over a stressful project, she'd called it. I believed her. Or I wanted to. We got back together, and for a year things were good. Almost perfect. But the name Mark always hung in the air, a ghost at our dinner table. Hey babe, I said, walking in from the gym. You still on for dinner tonight? I was thinking that new Italian place. Claire was on the couch, laptop open, brow furrowed. She didn't look up. Oh hey, About that, I can't. I'm so sorry. My stomach dropped just a little. Everything okay? Yeah, it's just... work is insane. They just moved a deadline up on the Henderson project. I'm going to be chained to this desk all night. She finally looked at me, her face a mask of practiced exhaustion. We'll do it this weekend, I promise. Okay, I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. Need me to bring you anything? No, I'm good. I'll just order something in. Love you. Love you too. I spent the next 2 hours reheating leftover chili and scrolling aimlessly through my phone. It felt pathetic. A Friday night alone, picturing her drowning in architectural blueprints. Then I saw it. A post from Sarah, one of her work friends. A group photo, a big celebratory lunch. The caption read, "Finally celebrating the Henderson project wrap-up. So proud of this team." And there in the back of the shot, tucked into a corner booth, was Claire. She was laughing, her head tilted just so. Sitting across from her, leaning in so close their shoulders were almost touching, was Mark. My chili turned to ash in my mouth. It wasn't a meeting. It wasn't a last-minute deadline. It was a celebration. A victory lap. A lunch she lied about to have with him. My thumb hovered over her contact photo. Call her. Scream. Demand an explanation. But what was the point? She'd just spin another story. I'd seen it before. The denial, the deflections, the way she could twist words until I was the one apologizing for being suspicious. Not this time. I needed proof she couldn't talk her way out of. The restaurant in the photo was Café Monet, a trendy little spot downtown. I checked their Instagram page. Nothing. I checked the page of everyone tagged in Sarah's photo. And then I found it. Another picture posted by some junior designer I didn't know. It was a candid shot, a close-up. It was just the two of them. Claire and Mark. They were sharing a tiramisu, a single spoon halfway to her lips. His hand was resting on the table just inches from hers. The look on his face wasn't friendly. It wasn't professional. It was the same look he'd probably given her a year ago during the break. The look of a man who knew he was winning. My blood ran cold. The air in my apartment felt thick. Unbreathable. 5 years. All the promises, all the I love yous, all the plans we'd made. How much of it was real? The insecurity that had been a quiet hum in the back of my mind for a year was now a screaming siren. I grabbed my keys. My hands were shaking so hard. It took me 2 tries to get the key in the ignition. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to see her face when she saw the picture. I had to watch the lies fall apart in real time. The 20-minute drive to her apartment felt like an eternity in a split second all at once. Every red light was a personal insult. Every slow driver a test of my sanity. I replayed the last year in my head. Every time she'd worked late. Every time she'd been vague about her plans. Every time she'd said, "Mark is just a friend, you have to trust me." Trust. The word tasted like poison. I pulled up across the street from her building. Her lights were on. I pictured her on the couch, maybe texting him, telling him what a great time she had. Telling him how she'd expertly handled me. The thought made me want to punch the steering wheel. I took a deep breath, the air rattling in my lungs. I unlocked my phone, the picture of her and Mark glowing on the screen. It was my only weapon, my only piece of undeniable truth. I put the car in park but left the engine running. This was it. There was no coming back from this. I was about to set fire to 5 years of my life. and God help me, I couldn't wait to watch it burn. I killed the engine. The silence was deafening. My own ragged breathing filled the car as I walked to her door, phone clutched in my hand like a rock. I didn't knock. I used my key. She was on the couch just as I'd pictured, phone glowing in her lap. She jumped when the door opened. Hudson, God, you scared me. I told you I was working. I didn't say a word. I just walked over, held my phone out, and tilted the screen toward her. The picture of her and Mark sharing that deserted universe of intimacy between them. Her eyes flicked from the screen to my face. The mask of practiced exhaustion slipped, replaced by a flicker of pure panic. Oh. That. It was a team thing. Just a celebration for the Henderson project. This isn't the team, Claire. My voice was flat dead. This is you and him. After you lied to me. I didn't lie. She snapped, her voice rising. Plans changed. It was a last-minute thing. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You're being paranoid. Paranoid. The word came out as a hollow laugh. I looked around the apartment we had practically shared for 5 years. Her things, my things, our things. It all felt like a movie set. So you canceling on me and having lunch with the man you cheated on me with is just a coincidence. It wasn't like that. You're twisting this to fit your narrative because you've never trusted me since the break. She was actually shouting now, trying to flip it, make it my fault, my insecurity, my paranoia. It was her signature move. But the picture on my phone was an anchor holding me to reality. I wouldn't be gaslit again. I just stared at her, letting her words hang in the air and rot. I watched her face crumble when she realized it wasn't working. I'm done, I said. It was the quietest thing I'd said all night, but it landed like a bomb. I turned and walked out, leaving my key on the little table by the door. I didn't slam it. I closed it softly behind me, the final click echoing like a gunshot. The next morning, I woke up to a world of digital silence. Her contact photo on my phone was a gray anonymous silhouette. My last text, a single blue checkmark. Delivered but not read. I went to Instagram. User not found. Facebook the same. Blocked. Wiped clean from her digital life as if the last 5 years were a corrupted file. A cold, sick dread pooled in my stomach. I grabbed my laptop and logged into an old, forgotten gaming account on Facebook. I searched her name. Her profile popped right up. Public and proud. And there it was, posted 2 hours ago. A new profile picture of her. And Mark smiling. And right below it, the relationship status she'd always refused to use with me. In a relationship with Mark Peterson. I dry heaved into the toilet. The betrayal was so absolute, so ruthlessly efficient, it felt like a physical assault. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I just sat in the dark, scrolling through years of our photos, trying to pinpoint the exact moment I became a fool. After a week of this self-inflicted torture, I typed a desperate, pathetic plea into a Reddit relationship forum. The advice was swift and unanimous. Go scorched earth. No contact. It's the only way. It felt impossible, like amputating a limb. But they were right. I spent the next hour blocking her. Then I blocked Mark. Then Sarah. Then her sister. Her mom, her cousins, her 20 closest friends. A digital massacre. My friend Dave, bless his heart, went over to her place with 2 garbage bags of her stuff and came back with a box of mine. He didn't say a word, just put a beer in my hand. 2 days later, a message request popped up on Instagram from a blank profile. No picture, 0 posts. It was her. This is the cruelest, ugliest way you could have possibly handled this. You have no idea the damage you're doing. I screenshotted it, sent it to Dave with the caption, LOL, and then blocked the account without a reply. It was the hardest and best thing I'd ever done. Months passed. The silence worked its magic. The gaping wound in my chest slowly began to scar over. I started working out again. I saw my friends. I started to feel like myself. Then my dad got sick. It was fast. A sudden, brutal cancer that took him from us in 6 weeks. The world stopped. The grief was a fog, thick and choking. In the middle of funeral arrangements and sitting with my weeping mother, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my sister. It was a screenshot. A message from Claire to my mom. Dearest Carol, I was so devastated to hear about Richard. He was such a wonderful man. I know you must be going through hell. I'd love to come to the service to pay my respects and offer my support. Mark would be happy to come with me if that's okay. We just want to be there for you. The audacity. The sheer predatory nerve of it. Using my father's death, my mother's grief, as a crowbar to pry her way back into my life. With him. For support. Rage cold and pure cut through my grief. This wasn't a showdown. This was a pest control problem. I called an emergency family meeting with my mom and sister. She is not to be acknowledged. I said, my voice shaking with a control I didn't feel. If she messages you again, you don't reply. If you see her at the funeral home, you look right through her. She doesn't exist. They agreed instantly, their own shock and disgust overriding their grief for a moment. I then texted my 5 closest friends, the ones serving as pallbearers. I sent them the screenshot and a simple instruction. If you see this woman or her boyfriend, you are my personal security. They are not to get within 50 feet of me or my family. No scenes. Just a wall. She never showed. Maybe someone warned her. Maybe she lost her nerve. The thought of her being silently, politely, but firmly turned away by my friends at my father's funeral was a small, grim comfort. A few weeks later, Dave sent me a YouTube link. The title was something like, Girlfriend cheats, lies, then tries to crash ex's dad's funeral. It was one of those Reddit story narration channels. Someone had taken my post and turned it into a video. It had 2,000,000 views. Apparently, one of her distant cousins saw it, recognized the story, and shared it in the extended family group chat. From there, it went nuclear. My phone lit up with messages from numbers I didn't recognize, her friends. You're a monster for airing her dirty laundry like that. She made a mistake, you didn't have to ruin her reputation. This smear campaign is pathetic. I read them, a strange sense of calm washing over me. They were just words from a world I no longer lived in. I blocked them all. A year to the day after I walked out of her apartment, an email landed in my inbox. The subject line was just my name. It was a novel. A long, rambling, self-serving apology. She wrote about her fear of commitment, how our love was so real it scared her. She wrote about how Mark was pressuring her to move and how he didn't really get her, how he wasn't as smart or as funny as I was. It was a masterclass in non-apology, blaming everything but herself. A year ago, I would have sold my soul to receive that email. I would have read it and wept the validation as soothing balm on my shattered ego. But I wasn't that person anymore. I was sitting on a couch beside a woman named Anna, her head resting on my shoulder as we watched some stupid movie. She was kind and honest, and she made me laugh. She knew my story. She'd held my hand through the grief of losing my dad. She was real. I read Claire's pathetic, desperate words, felt the ghost of a pain I used to know, and then I felt nothing. A complete and total indifference. It was like reading a weather report from a city I'd never visit again. I hit delete. The email vanished. Anna looked up at me. "Everything okay?" I smiled, leaned over and kissed her. "Everything's perfect.